honestly, feel free to chat about absolutely anything. Just imagine we're down the pub having a beer, having a chat. It's really chilled out. It's really relaxed. It's just people having a chat. That's all it is. So whatever you want to talk about at all.
Nurses strike?
If you want to, feel free.
No, don't even get me started on that stuff.
Politics and religion. Let's kick off with that.
So is that all okay? Everything set
Brilliant.
up?
Looks great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Nicky. Cheers.
No worries.
Look out of here. Yeah, Mark's here as well, so you might jump in from time to time and...
Awesome.
Yeah?
Nice one.
Okay?
Yeah, of course it is. Brilliant.
Cool. Okay, my friend.
Right, you want to crack on? Okay. Do you have a beer? Excellent. He's got a beer already. Right, folks. Here's Ian Wilson from Roadskin. How you doing, Ian?
Very well indeed, Bruce. Very well indeed.
Awesome. Merry Christmas to you. I've got to say, that tree looks fantastic.
My wife did that.
We're not even putting one up this year because we're going up north for Christmas. So my wife she said, do you want a Christmas tree this year? I got the hint and went, no, dear.
I do that. Nick loves Christmas. She's great. I must say I'm a bit of a Christmas humbug, to be honest. It starts so early, man. It starts in like October, people are doing it. And I'm like, oh my God.
It was ridiculous this year, wasn't it? There were people in our little village here. There was people putting a Christmas tree up in September. I was like, what is going on?
I know, it's crazy. I think for us as well, is because work really kicks off, obviously, with the heated clothing we do as well. You know, It suddenly got cold, 3 weeks ago, and it's just like turning the tap on. So for us this time of year, we're just so busy. You just never get a chance to rest. And then I've got to think, oh my God, Nick's Christmas present. And then, typically the Christmas Eve, I'm down there trying to buy something and never fits. But,
do you want a Garbing heated jacket?
Well, let me just tell this, Bruce. This is why I'll be very careful these days. For a 50th birthday, we were up at the NEC doing a show. Unfortunately for Nick, her birthday always falls at the NEC show. Mm-hmm. So the NEC, so it's basically a work thing. And her 50th birthday, I had all these plans to do this, that, and the other. Ran out of time. The night before the show started, I ran out to Curry's and bought a Dyson Hoover.
No.
For her 50th birthday, yeah.
Who said romance is dead?
It was a good one. It's one of the sucky ones. It's great. I thought it was cool, but apparently it wasn't a great birthday present. So
you're still alive?
Careful.
Wow.
I've made more mistakes than that in my life, trust me.
Well, we can get into that for sure.
I'm looking over my shoulder because Mark's in here as well, and he said to me when I was going to chat to you tonight, he said, Ian, there's certain things you mustn't talk about. And I'm like, really? He said, yeah. He's talking about the past when we used to run a courier company together years ago, and some things we used to get up to. He said, don't mention that. He said, you never know who's going to be listening. You never know what's going to happen. We don't know those people coming back to haunt us. So
is he just standing in the background ready to go, no, pull the plug?
He's got a big piece of paper written on it saying, shut up.
Right, well, let's get going then. Let's see how we can dig in. Ian, obviously, yourself and your lovely wife, Nicky, you are the sort of people behind Roadskin with Mark. But can we go a little bit further back? What got you into biking? What's your biking history?
Well, started with a girl, funnily enough. Probably when I was about 11. And we were going to school, and one of the guys at school had a Vespa 90 scooter in his garage. And I thought, this would be good fun. I want, let's get hold of this. And so I bought it off him for £1. But the deal was I had to kiss his sister as well. Because he fancied me. I'm like, oh, great, okay. So I plucked up the courage, go down there with my £1. Here's my £1, kiss the sister, and do a run of the scooter. It was great. But to be honest, I got into biking from, it was really my dad. So my dad was not into motorcycling, hated motorcycles, but he was big time into cycling and not off-road cycling. It wasn't really called mountain biking then. We're talking 50 years ago, But he used to have knobblies on his bike and he used to go out and build all these bikes. And he got me into that. And the biggest thing was when we went outside, it was just laziness. You're just going uphill. You're pedaling uphill. There was no fun in it. So, of course, what I wanted was an engine to push me uphill. And that is what started me off. So all of a sudden, I've got an engine to get uphill. Everything was completely different. And off you go. It just changed your life.
So the first bike was the C90?
No, a Vespa 90 scooter.
Sorry, Vespa. Sorry, apologies.
I didn't have a Parker, but I did have my Vespa 90. I remember I took all the old metal bits off the side of it and stripped it all down to just the frame and the engine. Just used to ride around local farmers' field.
So were you a mod then? Were you a mod and not the rocker?
No, not 11 years old. Didn't have any mates. I was just out of mine, riding my little scooter around the fields, having fun. I used to go every single night on it. But, it's great. And I'll tell you what, I'm a firm believer, they're actually starting to ride young like that, especially with little tyres, road tyres on a muddy field. You know, it's sliding all over the place. The bike is all over the place. And so you just get used to it naturally, you know, you just get used to riding. And I firmly believe that off-road riding makes you a better road rider for sure.
So everybody keeps telling, everyone is dying for me to sort of master the off-roading. I do the odd little bit of like trail riding, but that's about it. But yeah, everyone keeps telling me you'll be a much better road rider if you can ride off-road.
Well, do you know, I think if you've been a road rider for a long time, I actually think you'll struggle off-road. Because basically it seems to me, because I know Mark, like I say, sitting on my shoulder here, I remember going out with Mark. When was that, Mark? 15, 20 years ago? Long time ago. I said to Mark, come on, let's go and do a bit of trail riding. So I've always had off-road bikes. And I lent him one of my bikes. I think he had
He started now.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Anyway, the bottom line is he's shouting at me now. He's getting upset. The bottom line is we went out trail riding. And okay, Mark had a DR600 with road tyres on, and yes, I had my Husaberger Nobblies on it, so obviously I had an advantage. But Mark was useless, man. Absolutely useless. He must have fallen off every 5 miles. Because the reason being, in my mind, is that basically on the road, you pretty much the bike stays where it is, you know, and so you're not used to it moving. So you're concentrating on what you're doing, you think about other things, but a bike doesn't really move. Whereas, of course, off the road, bike moves, slides, and straight away, particularly in Mark's case, but in most people's case who don't ride off-road, you're fighting it straight away. So if it starts going a bit left the front wheel or sliding a little bit, you're fighting it, trying to stop doing it, and that's absolutely the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
You just got to let the bike go with it. So it's really old habits, you know, they die hard, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. I used to ride like an utter hooligan on the road, and I used to love the feel of my Gixxer moving underneath me. I really like the skittiness, you know, when you're like hard on the brakes and hard on the power, and not like I couldn't drift the bike or anything daft like that, but you could feel the bike sort of moving a little bit. And I used to love that sensation. Now I'm the polar opposite. I like a bike to feel like stuck to that road. I don't like any sensation of it moving anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a completely different thing, off-road riding and road riding, and I don't think two mix. Having said that, of course, Valentino Rossi and all the rest of them, Marquez, and all the good road riders always come from motocross background.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, I know Valentino's got his ranch. Never been invited, unfortunately. Maybe one day. He's got his ranch where they go, and it's all off-road stuff, isn't it?
Have you ever done Colin Edwards?
No,
Texas Tornado.
Have you done it?
Oh, on the big world trip, he dropped me a message on Twitter, and I'd said, I think because Bridgestone were or one of my mates from Bridgestone, I think he sort of preempted him. He messaged him and said, "Oh, I've got a mate of ours who's coming your way. He's doing this trip, blah blah blah." And he just said, "Oh, if he comes through Texas, get him to drop me a line." So I did, not in a million years thinking he would actually reply, and he replied and he said, "Yeah, great. Here's my address. Come meet me and come to the school." So
did I did it. He has a big oval, doesn't he? It's inside.
Yeah,
and it's big,
yeah. He's got all sorts. Yeah. So I turned up, and it was his. What birthday was it? Was it his 40th birthday? So it was actual birthday that day, and all his family were all there, and we just got like. There's bikes, there's beer. He bought himself a great big new truck. So, you know, we were he was taking the truck around the circuit and jumping it and doing all sorts. And there's a barbecue on the go. The only thing was the big 50 cal sniper rifle that he's got, that was knackered at the time. I thought we were going to get a shot of that, but it was broken at the time. So it was like, but it was amazing to meet him. He's exactly like he is on the telly. He's just how you'd imagine he'd be, you know, very easygoing, very welcoming, just typical sort of Texas bloke.
It's funny, we were at the classic bike show with Roadskin this year, and John Kaczynski was out there. Remember John Kaczynski?
No, who's that? You're going to shoot me. 500
MotoGP rider. He won World Superbikes in the time of. He won World Superbikes on a Castro Honda the year before. The year after Carl Fogarty went. Either side of the year. So Carl Fogarty moved to Honda, do you remember, from Ducati? Didn't get anywhere on it. And then John Kaczynski was riding. So we're going back a while there, Bruce. But
I was very late to bikes. I was 2008, I got into bikes. So I'm very late to the scene.
Yeah, we talked to John Kaczynski up there, and it was fascinating because there's a guy there called Dean who actually owns most of the Kajiva 500 motor GP bikes and stuff. He's got his garage full of them and all the engines. Wow. He's like the world's foremost expert on them. And then they dragged him in to do this talk, and he was doing the talk there. Jack Bernacle was the interviewer, and he did 3 1-hour sessions on the Saturday, 3 1-hour sessions on the Sunday. And oh my God, Brute, it was fascinating. I said to Martin, I've got to go and listen to this. He talked, and they did it from the first hour, then rolled into the second hour, into the third hour. So they sort of added to the next stage. They didn't start from the beginning every hour. So it's all fresh and all new ever. 6 hours he talked about his life in MotoGP. And the stuff he was saying was absolutely incredible. He was talking about Kenny Roberts when he was riding for Kenny Roberts' team, saying that Kenny Roberts basically didn't know how to set up a bike. All the bikes were too stiff and they didn't move. And it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It was such an interesting thing. And I talked to the organisers there after the first hour, and I said, I hope you're getting this on video. This is just fascinating. Yeah. And no one did it. No one copied it. So it's probably only about 300 or 400 people actually heard what he was saying, and it was staggering. Absolutely staggering. It's unbelievable. In the year that he won World Superbikes with Castro Honda, so it was HRC Honda on the V4 Honda, then it was. The guy that was, I forget what his name was, but the guy that was in charge of racing, the actual Honda Racing Corporation director, basically said to him, we're going to win this year, and that's it. And they poured millions and millions of pounds into this bike to win. They did win the year. And John said at the end of the year, he said, I wanted to carry on for the next year. And he got on really well with his director. And the director said, no. He said, don't do it next year. And John said, but we've had such a great year. We're going to do it again next year. He said, no, we're not going to put any money into it next year. Wow. And they put no money into it, and they never won again. So Honda literally went out to win the World Championship, and money was no object.
And then that was it. They've done it.
He was talking about this for like 20 minutes. And he was telling all the details of how they were putting magnesium crankcases in and all the cheats they were doing. And it was honestly, fascinating. Absolutely brilliant. But some of the X-Races are brilliant to chat to, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I take it you follow the modern stuff as well?
Yeah, I do. But I find it a little bit... I love watching MotoGP. I watch it all the time, and World Superbike. So I was a real big World Superbike fan in the days when Carl Fogarty were doing it and Pier Francesco Chili and stuff. Did you ever see the one about when we were in Assen and Pier Francesco Chili, when they had a real go and a punch-up with Carl Fogarty on the stage?
No.
He got taken out. Carl Fogarty won the race. He'd taken out Pier Francesco Chili going into the last chicane.
Right.
We were there. I was there with my kids right opposite. We watched the whole thing. It was great. Pier Francesco Chili is the most gorgeous Italian guy. You know, even I fancy him. He's just lovely. He was a fantastic guy. He was really fast, really beautiful guy. I've had the fortune, I've met him 3 or 4 times now. But he's a really great guy. And he completely lost it to Carl Fogarty. And he got knocked off. So Carl Fogarty won the race. And then Pier Francesco Chili comes out with his pink bloody dressing gown on and his furry slippers, and just started having a go on the podium at Carl Fogarty, and he had a punch-up. It was just the best thing ever. Yeah, it was great. They were really good times. When we used to go to Assen over there, the Assen track, you would get 150,000 people over there watching the races, of which 100,000 were English people. 100,000. Wow. Well, don't forget, back in the day when Carl Fogarty was racing World Superbikes at Brands Hatch, they had a record crowd of 125,000 people up there.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Fortunate enough to be there in the grandstand, and it was just brilliant. I've never seen racing like in my life, and I don't think they've ever got back to that stage again. Certainly, World Superbikes sort of dropped out of. I don't know. It wasn't that popular, which is a real shame because Chaz Davis has won, and you've got I forgot his name.
Johnny Ray.
Yeah, Johnny Ray. Thank you. 7 times world champion, for God's sake. Yeah. So it's incredible, and he never gets a mention. I know he got an OB, didn't he, on MBE? He did get Sports Personality of the Year as well. Yeah, he did. In reality, 7 years on the road in a row, he's won the championship, and yet no one's really going to watch it.
Yeah, they should have so much more exposure, shouldn't they?
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. So I love racing. I love racing in general. But I did. Back in the day, I thought to my boys, I took my boys, Jake and Toby, and we went, we can do a bit of bike racing. So for me as a dad, nothing could be more exciting than loading up a van, going to do endurance, road, track day endurance stuff, not off-road. So it was road racing stuff. And we went around Europe to do a series called the No Budget Cup. So the idea was that the bikes had to be over 10 years old, There was a control tyre as well, which is Bridgestone, I think Bridgestone road tyre, to try and keep costs down. And it just gave people like us an opportunity to go out there and do it. You didn't have to have a licence or anything. And we had the old Toyota Hiace then, loaded up with we had a Ducati 748, which we hoiked out to 852 or something. Anyway, we'd load up the van on Friday night and go and do these races. Absolutely, it was so much fun. Both the boys were with me. Jake, my son, never ever ridden on a road, on a track in his life. First race we ever did was at the Nürburgring F1 ring. First place we ever went to.
Ever race.
First race we ever did, yeah. First time I'd ever been on track. He'd never even done a track day. So we turned up at this place, and even though it was a 10-year-old bike, so it was competitive, and the guys are really, really fast, but it wasn't an expensive, dolly birds everywhere thing. But it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I remember Jake's face was just like, oh my God, Dad, what are we doing here? And we're in Formula One, we're in the pits there, all the Formula One cars are, and we went out there pissing down the rain for the first race, and off we went. And we didn't finish the whole season. So I think it was 10 races we did across Europe. We did Zandvoort, Nürburgring, a couple of tracks in France in his van. We only ever scored, I think we scored 5 points in the very last event of the year, which was an 8-hour endurance race at Zandvoort. And I think we only scored those points because everyone else fell off.
What a fantastic experience, though. That's amazing.
It was great. Best time of my life. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely fantastic. I've still got bits of that 748 in my warehouse. So I just look at it, sitting on my desk. The ignition switch sits on my desk. Pride of place.
Oh, wow.
But, we weren't very good, but it was just great fun. Really
did you
fun.
only do the one season, or did your boy carry on racing?
I did 2 seasons in a row. So the first time I did 748, but everyone was riding then. I think we were allowed 748 because twins could go out to 800cc, I think, or 900cc. And if it's 4 cylinders, they were 600cc. So most people are out there on FZ 600s and GSM, Gixxer 600s and stuff. And the Ducati was a little bit slower. But I think really it was us that was slow, man. But you were talking earlier about bikes moving on the track. I remember the first day I ever went on track with my off-road experience, if you like. I was just thinking I was going to be the best rider ever because I could see me sliding into corners. I could see all drifting into corners. I would just be absolutely brilliant. Oh, my God. What an eye-opener. I was absolutely shit useless. Honest to God, it's unbelievable. And the 2 things that stagger me to this day about being on the track on a bike, it was Brands Hatch Indy circuit we were at. And the 2 things, one was that the bike just didn't move, and I really thought it was going to move, but this bike just didn't move. And now I understand when people talk about inch-perfect lines on tracks or, centimetre-perfect lines on tracks, you completely understand. These bikes don't move. If you aim them, they will go exactly where you point them. But it's just incredible. They don't move at all. And the other thing that staggered me is how good the brakes are. Because, of course, on the road, unless you're in an accident, or you're panicking, you never know how good the brakes are. You never use them.
Yeah, you never grab a proper fistful, do you?
No, it was great. I remember going along the start-finish straight at Brands into Druids, or into Paddock Hill Bend, sorry. Hit the brakes. I stopped so soon, I had to accelerate into the corner to carry on. And, oh, my God, everyone's coming past me, and I never really got the hang of it. But it's just staggering.
I love Paddock Hill. I love that. When you get that corner right, it's beautiful. But obviously, if you get it wrong, it's quite catastrophic.
Yeah, I'm going we know the guys at California Superbike School, Jane there. So we supply them with Roadskin trousers and everything for all their, all their races and stuff. So they wear them in the pits and stuff. And she keeps saying to me, "Come do one of the California Superbike School things." I'm not really not really track guy. I enjoyed doing, like I said, it was great fun with the boys, but we're not. You
should do, honestly, do. They're a great setup. They are brilliant. They really are. Have you ever done any of them? Yeah, I've done all. Well, I'm up to level 4, and then you can do as many level 4s as you like. You've got to do level 1, then level 2, level 3, and then level 4 onwards is really sort of bespoke training specifically for you. They'll look at your riding and go, right, what do you need to work on? And it's really good. It's really good. Best track training I've had for sure.
Yeah, Bruce, I'm 62 now, man. I don't even fit in my levers anymore. But
Yeah, don't even go there. I don't fit into much anymore. Jeez, I've just had a week in the Canaries working, and I've come back and tried on some of my clothes, and it's like, oh bloody hell, that's a bit compact in Beijing, Austin.
That's why you need that stretchy trousers, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, I was wearing your kit over there. I was wearing it's the Tyrannus jeans, isn't it, and the hoodie.
Yeah, no, Mark was just saying, yeah, we saw you wearing that. It's good stuff. It's great stuff. You see, I mean, from my point of view, I'm an old school rider in that, when I was a kid, so when I was 17, which would have been 78, somewhere around there, I remember one of my first bikes I had was a Suzuki GS 750, the old inline four.
Yeah.
But then we just ride around in leather jackets and jeans, and that's all we ever rode around in. It was never anything else. And you fall off, you just skin yourself. So that was just the way it was. And we learned how, we were on the road with that, and that's sort of what got me into the whole clothing thing in the first place. Because you start and then you're like, oh, okay, that hurt. I've still got the scars like most of us all down our arms. But, the whole safety thing for bikes and clothing and stuff has come on so far, man, so far. I was laughing at a guy the other day. The old GS 750 was one of the first ones that came into the country, and it had spoke wheels on it and a single disc. So it was literally one of the first ones that came into the country. But you're probably not even aware of this because you're new to biking, in inverted commas. But they had stainless steel discs on them, yeah. And it's absolutely true to say that when it rained, the disc brakes didn't work until they cleaned the water off them. And so what happened is you get this lag in your brakes. So you go along, and you imagine you've got someone pull out in front of you, he's pissing down the rain, you're riding along on your bike, someone pulls out in front, you hit the brakes, and they literally have to do a whole complete cycle to clear the water off the disc before it starts gripping. So you get this whole thing, and then down it goes. It's just unbelievable.
It's like really bad ABS.
Oh, yeah, God, it was like that. It was like that. And we got a lot of people talking to us. Something that I think it's a real shame because of the history of motorcycling in the sort of, not really the 60s, I think. It was more so in the 70s, the early 70s when we had, or late 70s when we had RD250s and the X7s, which are capable of theoretically 102 miles an hour or something, 106 miles an hour. And the tyres just weren't up for it. The brakes weren't up for it. Most of us riding then, I mean, when you did your test, how long ago did you do your test?
2008.
So you did loads of, did you have to mod 1 and stuff?
No, not for me. No, it's none of that. It was just direct access straight in. So it was like 3 days, 4 days intensive, and that was it. Right. You literally go not around the block, you go for a ride with the instructor, and that's it.
Yeah, well, get this. When I did my test there, so it would have been, first one would have been 76. So I did my old... That's
when I was born.
Thanks, mate. We went out there, so I lived near Sevenoaks at the time, and the test station was in Sevenoaks, so I pull up, got a crash on, and obviously got your gloves on. Yeah. Never looked at any of your clothing, didn't matter. The guy came out wearing a raincoat or, his normal coat with a clipboard. You pull up alongside, say, right, so what we can do, Mr. Wilson, just check this. Just check the bike, taxed, right, okay, fine, okay, fine. Right, he said, what I want to do is I want you to ride down here to the corner, turn right, go down to the next junction, turn right, come up again, turn right, and then pull up alongside the curb here. I'll wait here to see you do that. Yeah. So you literally pull off, and the guy stands there at the side of the road on the pavement, he's sitting on the pavement. So you pull off, go there, and as soon as you're out of sight, he's not going to see you anyway. So turn right, come back up. As soon as you're back in sight again, you slow down, look over your shoulder, indicate, pull into the left. Fine. Thanks, Mr. Wilson. Right. Now we want to do an emergency stop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out in front of you somewhere around. You do the same triangle you did before, and somewhere I'm going to jump out in front of you and I'm going to hold up a newspaper. And at that point, I want you to do an emergency stop. Okay, well, we know the area. We know there's only 1 footpath that's going to dissect the bloody triangle. So you go down there, no one's there, looking at all the girls doing whatever when you're riding along, come up, all of a sudden, footpath's coming up, look straight. Sure enough, the guy jumps out of the footpath, holds up the newspaper. Well, he's going to be there. I stopped like 50 yards before he's even there, because he's there. And he's like, no, come forward, do that again, thank you. And he said, right, I'll see you back at test station. Got back, passed, and that was it.
That was
the limit of that. That was, honest to God, that was the limit of our training. So then, of course, from there, you could then go to 250, which is, like I say, capable of just about 100 mile an hour downhill with the wind behind you, but that sort of speed, with brakes that didn't work, especially if it was raining, tyres that were next to bloody useless, and you let out on the road. And of all my friends in that time, virtually every single one of us, sadly, some of them lost limbs. Honestly, it was carnage. I remember at 18, I went in to have my appendix out in Orpington Hospital. And in the ward on Orpington Hospital, I swear to God, 60% of those people in the ward were motorcycle accidents. And all of us were all 17, 18 years old. It was absolute carnage. And what I'm saying is because the knock-on effect now is, so when we get mums coming in, their kids are going out in suits and stuff and they're buying kit for them, the mums are petrified about the danger of bikes. But the danger of bikes really, in my mind, comes from that period when the mums were kids as well, and they knew that most of their friends were maimed or sadly died. It was an absolute carnage. You know, I don't know what the rates were. I haven't looked it up, but I would think they were huge.
It's almost gone like to the other extreme now, where it's it's almost not complicated, but it's quite a drawn out process. Certainly if you're below the age of, 21 or 20, 22, 23, where you can come in and do direct access DAS like I did. I think is that 23 or 24 you've got to be to do that now. Otherwise, like, it's mod 1, mod 2, there's loads of different restrictions.
I think I'm limited to horsepower wise as well, is it, or is it CC now?
I should know all this, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, there is, I think between mod 1 and mod 2, there is a restriction on what power output the bike can have. Yeah, and I think that also has to do with age as well, I think. But it's like the opposite now, isn't it? It's very hard for a youngster to get on two wheels. Certainly you can get on a little 125 for sure. That's fairly straightforward. I think it really is. I think it's a little bit of, I don't know, is it overkill? Obviously not. No one wants to be hurt. But at the end of the day, it seems to have gone from one extreme to the other. I remember my dad probably saved me from having a serious accident when I was 17, 18, in that I remember when I was 17 years old, passed my bike test, I went down to Paddockwood Kawasaki. Mm-hmm. I wanted to buy a Kawasaki KH250 then. I was like, yeah, I love Kawasaki. It's Kawasaki KH250. I think they were 450 quid or something. Anyway, and I came home, Dad said, Dad, I'm going to buy a KH250. I can get it on the Never Never, not a problem. And my dad went absolutely nuts. Said, you can't ride that because at the time so many kids were getting hurt. And he was the one that said to me, no, if you're going to go, he said, I can't stop you riding a bike, but if you're going to go on a bike, I want you to have a big bike, because I think a big bike you're going to be more cautious of, maybe a little bit more of, your brakes. A bit more respect for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when I bought the 750 Suzuki. And my friends all had 250s when they were RDs and all the rest of it. And it is true to say that when they were flat out at 80, 90 miles an hour, flat on the tank, everything flapping around, trying to get the speed out of it, the old Suzuki was still within, plenty within its limits, if you like. Yeah. And because it was such a heavy bike, it was more like, just take it a bit more easy. So I had a bit more respect for it, And I think that probably kept me from smashing myself up completely.
That's interesting then. So the bigger sort of more powerful bike actually helped you rein yourself in.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And I remember when my kids first got bikes, I used the same theory as my dad. And when my kids got bikes, we both got them. The first bikes they both had when they passed were basically Ducati 600 Monsters. Mm-hmm. And I bought them those because it's easy, because they're getting cheap off eBay. And we made sure we get not insurance write-offs as such, but they were just wrecks, But then I worked with the kids in the garage and painted them all up, took them all apart, made them nice, and then off they went. And they were a cheap form of transport, but great. And again, they were quite good. But I remember, fun enough, in those days, the 600 then, he had to have restrictors fitted in 600. I think you could ride any bike, but you were limited to 35 miles an hour or something like that. And what they used to do was they used to put a disc in about this sort of size in the carbs, in the intake, the air intake of the carb, and then it would have a hole in the middle, and that restricted the air going through. Right. I remember Jake, my son, again, used to go to his school on this bike, and he was coming back saying, "Oh, Dad, it was horrible. I was going down the motorway, and I got stuck trying to overtake this lorry. It was really awful, and I couldn't get past it." I'm like, "Geez!" And I took this bike out for a ride. It was an absolute death trap, Bruce. It was horrible. What was a lovely bike, 600 Ducati, lovely little bike, fantastic, absolutely ruined effectively by the government, saying you've got to put restrictors in it. So I took him out. And I said to him, he said, "Why does the police stop me?" I said, "If the police stop you without your restrictors, you come and talk to me, and we'll discuss it." Because I would have absolutely gone to court on that, and I would have made him ride it, and I would have said to the police, "You ride that bloody bike and tell me," because it would just store up all its fuel coming in, and then it would sort of die, and then all of a sudden it was like having a turbo. All of a sudden all the fuel was going, whoa, it was just not uncontrollable, just a nightmare. Absolutely no power, gutless.
So obviously we're getting the gist of this. You're quite handy with a spanner. How is this coming?
Handy for spanner, but
the first time we met, you were like on your hands and knees on the ground working on a bike outside the shop, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I love working my bikes. It's a passion of mine. But I wouldn't say, I'm not, like Alan Millyard. I know him quite well. He's a guy who's just, I'm in awe of that guy. God, how he does that stuff. So from that point of view, no, nowhere near as good. But, poodling around, tarting up bikes. Yeah, I love it. Really love it. I think you learn a lot as well.
Is that self-taught then, or is there any background to it?
No, self-taught. Off you go. Remember when I had my Suzuki 750? It was like, I think part of me doesn't want to have a bike looking like everyone else's. It makes me slightly laugh now at the sort of hipster type cafe racer thing coming into vogue now. In that, Christ, that's what we were doing back in the 70s and 80s, man. Yeah. Because everyone else, if everyone had a bike that looked the same, I was always the one going, I'll do that, I'll spray it black. And then had a little Marshall pipe on it in different, what shocks were they? I can't remember, different shocks on it, and took it apart, and just to be different from everyone else, So I've always been like, really change everything. Hate stuff having been the same as everyone else.
So what were you doing before the sort of clothing, before you got into bike clothing as a career? What were you doing before that? I
ran a motorcycle courier company with Mark in London. That's how I know Mark so long.
Is this the stuff we're not allowed to talk about?
Yeah, Mark's got his board. Stop. Shush. They were fabulous times, So we did no, fun enough, before that, I just did a funny little story. So before that, I was actually a windsurf instructor out in Greece. And that was the best job ever.
How did this happen?
That was the best job ever, I tell you. I can't begin to explain what a wonderful life that was. You're sitting there in your cool shorts on a beach all day, tanned and browned, and teaching basically topless girls how to windsurf.
Sounds
best
horrible.
Job in the world. But anyway, so we did that. And then what happened was...
How did you get into that? How did you get into that?
Because my mum and dad were always into sailing, and they had a friend that had a flotilla sailing company out in Greece.
Right.
And part of that flotilla sailing company had a windsurf school in Corfu, and they just needed someone to run that.
Wow.
And at the time, the fun thing was, at the time, part of the job description was I had to be a R-way windsurf instructor. Mm. And I never sailed a windsurfer in my life. I just thought this would be great. I'm going, what was I, 18, 19 at the time? Yeah. No, probably older, actually, about 21, somewhere around there. So,
32, 33.
168, yeah. I can't remember. Let's say early 20s. And so I wanted this job. I thought, this is going to be a great job. What a great job. So I went up to the big reservoirs up by Heathrow Airport. There's big, huge reservoirs out there. Have you ever seen them?
Yeah.
That's where the RY do some of their courses for learning how to windsurf instruct. Unfortunately for me, so I booked into a 3-day course. Unfortunately for me, for all 3 days, it was as calm as a mill pond. So the wind never blew. So it's great. So it was then because there was no wind, you couldn't really sail. So it was all about instructing on on dry land, teaching people. So I learned from there and off I went. So when I went to Corfu as a windsurf instructor, I couldn't actually windsurf. But I knew the theory of it. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can do this. It was great.
I've read a book. We're all right.
I've read a book. I can do that. It's no problem.
Seen it on the telly.
Yeah, it's great. It's a really good times, those. Stayed out there for 3 or 4 years. Fun enough, we got kicked out of there in the end when Greece joined the common market.
Right.
So what happened then was, in Greece, when they joined the common market, all the locals there basically knew as we were known as aliens, although we were legally there with windsurf, with all the proper work permits, port police permits, all that sort of stuff. So it's all completely legal. But because they knew that the year after they joined the EU, that they would basically, anyone could go and work there, they effectively kicked out everybody working in Greece in not a nice way. When we were in Corfu, a lot of the girl reps out there, and the girls that work in the bar and the guys that work in the bar, they were and I swear to God this is true, they were literally getting tarred and feathered. One of the girls, they shaved the head off her.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Shaved the
That's
hair.
horrendous.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. And what happened was they would gang up, and I'm sure most of the Greeks are nice guys, and they do things for their reasons, and it was a long time ago, but it was horrible out there. There were people getting beaten up. It was scary, really scary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got about 5 guys around me one night that basically said, if you're on the beach in the morning, you can have broken legs the next day. And it doesn't matter how tough you are, if you're in Greece and you've got 5 guys around, you go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you need to take the hint, don't you? Get out of Dodge.
It wasn't like they'd front you up in the daytime. It was always dark and, scary, and jump out from behind you in the alleyway and stuff. So it was always a bit gruesome.
Oh,
so
you end up back in the UK. Yep.
Yeah, came back from the UK, no job, 200 quid, no bike, no nothing. And a mate of mine called Rob, who I knew from school days, said to me, he's got an old XT500 in the garage. He said, I'll lend you this. Come work with me as a courier up in London. I went, yeah, okay. Like riding bikes. And so we went up there and we worked as internal couriers for Condé Nast Publications, which did Vogue, House and Gardens, Tatler. Right. And they used to have their own little office up on reception, and there was 5 or 6 in-house couriers there, and we used to work there, basically delivering parcels. It was really cool. It was a great job, really good fun. And
Just
then one day,
blatting around London every day.
yeah, it was great. It was great. It's good money as well. We used to meet out in Hanover Square and just go around and ride around the bike and deliver parcels. Brilliant. And one day, Rob and I were sitting there going, we could do this ourselves. And fun enough, a lot of courier companies in London in the same day started like this. And we can do our own courier company. This is a piece of piss. We know what to do. We can ride bikes and deliver. So Rob and I went down and got an office in Kenny High Street, a rented office, and started up our own courier company. And I remember the first day we sat there and we looked at each other and went, the phones aren't ringing. And we're like, why aren't the phones ringing? And we went, well, we haven't got any customers. And we're so naive. We're sitting there going, yeah, we're just going to start a courier company.
Yeah.
No idea what we're doing. We didn't have any customers. We didn't have any riders. We just had an office with the two of us sitting there thinking we were going to.
You didn't have any riders?
No, just me and Mark, just me and Rob.
Right.
And we walked up and down Kenny High Street and we said, we've got to go and find some customers. And one of our customers we got actually stayed with us for years was a company called AT Mains. They're a travel agents in Kensington Church Street. Rob and I were walking around going, well, go into here. They must use couriers. And so Rob literally pushed me through the door. I fell flat on my face. The girls in the office started laughing at me. I go, oh, yeah, what do you want? I said, we're couriers. We're looking for courier work. And they went, what? Are you going to ride a bike? You can't even walk through the door. And the next day they started using this. And I think the first day, that day we did 20 odd jobs or whatever it was between Rob and I, and just grew from there. And then we got Mark. So when we got to the stage where, so the company's called Chauffeur Post. And funny enough, you know Guy Willison, Henry Cole's mate?
Yes,
Yeah, so Guy Willison was one of our couriers at our courier company. That's how come I know Guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and his motorcycle company is called 54 Motorcycles. The reason for that is because his courier number, we always have courier numbers, his courier number when he's working with us was Oscar 54.
Right.
And that was his courier number. And so when he started his company, he wanted to call it 54 Motorcycles. And that's where it came from. So we knew Henry Cole from those days because he used to run a company called Movie Screen in West One. And that was one of our accounts. It all goes back a long, long way. But those days were brilliant. And then Mark came along one day as we were looking for couriers. Mark came along as a courier. I remember he said to me within a couple of days, I can't earn any money here. You're not big enough. Because, you need a big company like West One or Addison Lee or whatever that had huge jobs. More than basically were paid per job. I think the minimum was £3.50 or something. So if you do 100 jobs a day, you couldn't. You're going to earn whatever. But and then Mark came to work for about 2 days and then left. Can't work any money. He left. And then I phoned him up and said, I just got on well with him straight away. And I said, well, come work for us a van driver and we'll just pay you a minimum wage, whatever. And then he ended up being our controller. And I have to say, he became one of the best controllers in London. Absolutely brilliant. When he left the company we had, I sold out for whatever personal reasons, trying to get out of it. He went to start up his own courier company called Direct Response. And so many riders went to work with him. He's got such a wicked sense of humour. He knew London. You got no idea what it's like being a controller. I think people don't really understand what it's like. You imagine this, Bruce, you've got 60 odd riders out there, yeah? Each 60 riders has got, say, 4 or 5 parcels on them. So what's that? 240 parcels. Mark would know where all the riders were, where all the parcels were due to be delivered, how long it would take those riders to do those deliveries, and he'd be chasing them up going, you should be in West One by now. Where are you? Why are we taking so long? He's really good. It's a real work of art being a controller. And it's very, very hard work. And Mark and I went to join Mark, didn't I? Went to join Mark doing that, and we ran that for 5-6 years. And actually became really successful. The company we ended up turning over about £3 million, something like that. I think we had 60 couriers working for us, 20 car drivers, 10 van drivers.
Yeah, 60 couriers, passenger cars and van drivers.
Yeah, we're really big. We had our own workshops there. We used to buy at one stage, we were the biggest. We had, if you were doing like local work in London, so say West One, so if it's in a London centre, we used to rent, because in those days, we used to rent bikes to the couriers. We used to have this system where we'd have little bikes to go around the middle. So we had Aprilia scooters for the middle, and we used to buy Aprilia scooters. I swear to God, we used to buy them by the Arctic lorry load. And we were the biggest dealer of Aprilia scooters in the early 80s in the whole of the UK. We sold more scooters than anyone else. The reason being, of course, because the couriers would smash them up every bloody, 5 weeks later, they smashed to hell. Just bin them. We got through them. It was just throwaway world, We just got rid of so many of them. But yeah, we were really big in that. And we had the GT 550s and stuff.
being a courier seems to be a real rite of passage for a certain generation of biker in the UK. There's like a lot of the journos that I kind of know-ish now, like traditional press journals. A lot of them started as couriers, and like I think there's one or two racers that have obviously they've started as couriers. They've been couriers.
Yeah. Well, Damon Hill being the most famous, wasn't he?
Damon Hill was. I didn't know that.
No, Damon Hill used to work for West One Couriers.
Really?
Fun enough in the time when we were there. And obviously went on to become Formula One world champion.
Yeah.
It's a real rite of passage.
From there then, did you go from the courier world straight into the clothing world, or was there another step?
No, I managed to smash myself to pieces. I won't go into the whole story, but basically I had a really bad accident, and I was in a wheelchair for about 6 months, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, it all collapsed, and I got out of the courier industry just because I had a wife and 2 kids as well, and it was just going up to London and smash myself up. It's just a nightmare. Yeah. And basically, I was sitting at home in my wheelchair, wondering what to do with my life and start again. And I naively thought, because I love working on bikes, I had quite a nice garage, and I naively thought if I work in my garage, I could have a computer screen in there, and it would come up with, and I could have a website and start selling motorcycle clothing. And then a little thing would pop up while I'm working on my bikes and go, "You've got mail." Yay. And I'd think, "Yeah, I've sold something." And I'd just take it out of the box and send it off and carry on working on the bikes. Yeah. And at that time was when the internet and those sort of shops first started taking off. People like Sports Bike Shop, of course, now, but those shops were quite, something about 15 years, so I was way in front of them. But say 20, 25 years ago, somewhere around there, 20 years, 25, yeah. I started up this web shop. But what was happening at the time was that the importers like Veridax and Tran-Am, all the big boys, very quickly realised that they would piss off their dealers if they had a load of people like me working from a garage without rates and without undercutting them and selling stuff on the internet. So really, they closed you down and they wouldn't supply unless you had a shop. Mm-hmm. So then from there, I went and got this little shop, which was, honest to God, it is no bigger than the toilet. It was a tiny shop. And I just thought, this is great. It was just meant to be an empty shop, just a shop front, basically. So I could carry on working my bikes at home and do that. And I'd go in, I think I used to go in 2 days a week, Friday and Saturday or something. But it was really just cheap, really, so I could get the accounts with Veridax and Tran-Am stuff to do the selling stuff. But what happened was people keep turning up at your shop. I'm like, really? Come on, because it turned out that was one of the bigger, even though it's a tiny shop, I had quite a lot of clothing. There were no really clothing shops in the area. So then this stupid little shop ended up getting bigger and bigger and bigger and taking over the shop next door and upstairs, and it just got quite big in the end. And I remember one of the funniest things happened to me was this guy walked in and he said, "Oh, you've got a great kit here. It's a really nice kit." He said, "Have you got anything in different colour than black?" I'm like, "Sorry?" He said, "Boy, everything in here's black." And I stood back and I looked, and he's right. Every single leather jacket was black. The clothing was black. The crash helmets were black. The boots were black. And I realised then, actually, just because I like black motorcycle jackets and what have you, is not necessarily the way to do business. You've got to do what other people want to.
Cater for everyone else, yeah.
Yeah, so expand out. And then fun enough, I had a guy, it's quite fun this actually, the link to it is that what happened was, there was a guy called Roger that used to run a company. He used to run a little magazine, a sort of A5 magazine, and it used to be called Riders Digest. Riders Digest, yeah. And it was basically a courier magazine up in London. So that was all it was designed for. So couriers in London got Riders Digest. He used to hand them out on the corner for nothing. And then we used to advertise it with old courier company. We used to advertise in there for couriers. So I've known Roger for years. And I thought to myself, I'm going to see if Roger, I thought of this sort of idea where I might be able to sell kit to couriers, and then I'd courier it up to London so they could buy it on my website, and I'd take it up to London every day in a van. And I got hold of Roger to talk to him about this, and we're chatting about how it worked. And he said, "Have you ever done Kevlar jeans?" And I'm like, "Sorry? I've never heard of Kevlar jeans in my life." And he said, "Oh yeah, Kevlar jeans." He said, "They're really great." It's an old guy called Terry down in Canterbury that brings them in, talk to him. So I got hold of Terry in Canterbury and said, "Oh, you do Dragon jeans?" And he said, "Yeah." And he came up to see me. And bear in mind what I said earlier, if I haven't bored you and you've fallen asleep. But do you remember I used to be a motorcyclist? It would be leather jackets and jeans. And that was my protection, probably still is to this day. And so for me to have a jean which I like. And then I had a Kevlar light, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is brilliant." Absolutely loved it. And so I said to Terry, "Oh, yeah, how can I do Dragon jeans?" So I started being one of his shops that sold Dragon jeans. And what I very quickly realized was, bear in mind, at this stage, Dragon jeans were the only Dragon jeans available. Kevlar jeans, sorry. Dragon jeans, the only Kevlar jeans available. And so no one had really heard of them, and this new thing taking off, and we just rode the crest of the wave. And what I found was that basically a lot of shops didn't stock them, and actually Dragon jeans had a vast range. I think they had 8 different camo colours, for instance. You know, they had a huge range of jeans, and nobody actually stocked them. And the same with the sizes. No one stocked all the sizes. And so what I realised was very quickly that if I had all the sizes in stock and all the colours in stock, then, you know, people were going to come to you, and people would travel for literally miles around. People came down to Ipswich, to Tunbridge Wells, you know, because I had Dragon jeans in stock. And Terry would always say to me every Monday, he said, "God, every week you're buying out my whole stock of Dragon jeans." I said, "Well, they're brilliant." And I think if you believe in something, it's a lot easier to sell. I'm not very good at selling stuff that I don't believe in. You know, I need to understand it. I need to know why. I need to give you all the right answers why it'll happen, you know. So I started doing these Dragon jeans, and I said to Terry one day, who at the time was about 70, I guess, I jokingly said to him, "Look, if you ever want to get out, Terry, let me know and I'll take over. You know, I'd like to be a distributor for Dragon jeans in the UK." A couple of weeks later, he said, "Yeah, I want to get out." So I did a deal with him and took over Dragon jeans, and it's great. And from then we grew. And I remember the first time at the NEC that I was doing Zen. So Terry had been at the NEC doing his Dragon jeans. We had quite a small stand, and he was also very wary of people nicking stuff at the NEC. So if you bought a pair of Dragon jeans from Terry at the NEC, what he would do was he would take the sale, then he'd write down all your details, your name and address and everything in a little book. And then that was it. So it took a long time to sell these jeans, you know. Yeah. And he did that. I said, "Why are you writing it all down, Terry? Why are you writing down the book?" He said, "Oh, well, because if anybody nicks a pair off the stand, they don't necessarily get the right size. Then I'll know that if they phone me up and say, 'Oh, I bought a pair of Dragon jeans at the show,' and they have the wrong size because I exchange them," he can look up his book and go, "Well, what's your name? What did he buy?" And straight away know if they've nicked. But of course, it slowed the whole process down. And so I worked with Terry during the takeover period of doing Dragon jeans. I worked with him for the NEC that year. Then next year I did it myself. And I was very much thinking of like, just pile them high and stick them on the shelves and just get through them. And we were so busy. And at that stage, Dragon jeans, Grant McIntosh owns Dragon jeans, still does. And he had a worldwide patent on knitted Kevlar lining for motorcycle protection in jeans. Worldwide patent, so no one could touch it, and it's great. You know, the first 2 years, honest to God, it was just so busy. We were literally, the stand was absolutely heaving, and we'd be throwing jeans across. We'd have 5 changing rooms. It was brilliant. Honestly, it was good. We would sell as many jeans as we could get. It was just incredible. And then I remember second year, I think I was at the show, we got bigger and better, the stand looked better, and there was 4 guys watching me, or 3 guys watching me. And I thought, and they were in suits. I thought, "What the hell are you doing?" And they were watching me for an hour. And eventually I went over and said, "Sorry, guys, what are you doing? Why are you standing there looking at us?" It turned out they were the directors of Frank Thomas Group.
Oh, wow.
One of them was a guy called Steve Franklin. And he basically was watching. They were watching because obviously Frank Thomas at the time, one of the biggest clothing manufacturers in the UK. And they could see these things going off the shelves, and they basically want a piece of action. Then the next year, they came up with a jean, which is a Kevlar line jean. They didn't realise we had a worldwide patent on it. And so we had a massive row with Steve Franklin about this. He said, "You can't sell those jeans, sorry." So why? "Oh, so we got a worldwide patent, mate, tough luck." And the long and short of it is, we were right, they couldn't sell them. But what they very cleverly did was they did a new jean, and instead of doing knitted Kevlar, knitted Kevlar is a bit like a flannel. So if you look at it close, it's got lots of little tiny loops on it. So it's very, very good at abrasion. And what they did was they did woven Kevlar. And so that simple change from knitted Kevlar to woven Kevlar
allowed them to do it.
Worldwide patent. And now you see, how many people are there doing Kevlar jeans now?
All over the place, yeah.
Millions and millions and millions. But, I think the last count, I counted something like 35 different manufacturers. But the thing is, though, Bruce, I do, I'm really passionate about it, and I love this stuff. We lost Dragon jeans. I lost it as distributor, fun enough, because we were just a small one-man band. I think I was working with my son at the time. In fact, both my sons were working with me and someone else. So although we were selling in the UK and we had a good turnover for Dragon jeans, and we were in something like 80 shops, we had every Hein Gerrick shop was selling Dragon jeans at the time. So I thought we were doing really well. But Grant McIntosh wanted to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and he went to Fowlers of Bristol, which are a big, huge distributor.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
They probably got 15 sales reps on the road compared to my one. And basically they took away from me. And so I lost the whole distributorship, and I was like, okay, great. And it was a bit, it's nasty is not the right word, but it wasn't a very, acrimonious. Thanks, Mark. I told you was sitting on my shoulder checking. It's a bit acrimonious split.
What did you learn from that then?
I learned in the long run, just work for myself.
Yeah.
You can't be beholden to people. I worked really hard for Dragon Jeans. I like to think really that I wasn't the founder of it. Of course I wasn't. I wasn't the one who pushed it, but I believed in it so much. I mean, the turnover was huge. I think it's £1.5 million worth of jeans a year or something. I mean, it's big. It got really big. And the funny thing about it was that when Fowler's took over, they never really grew because, to answer your question, what I learned about it, if you get a big distributor, they've got so many other brands on. I don't actually know. Fowler's do Wise Kit. They do various other bits and pieces. But, of course, it's just part of their portfolio. So they don't really, it's just something the reps have got, oh, yeah, we've got this, we've got Dragon Jeans as well now. Do you want some of those? Whereas if me, it was the only thing I had really.
You had a real vested interest in the promotion of that product.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you're passionate about something, I think it comes over when you sell, And the fun is slightly going off tangent, but on the side of Dragon Jeans, one of the things Terry bought in was Gerben heated clothing. And this was 20 years ago. And I'm like, and he said, oh, we do heated gloves as well. You bought the business, so you can take those as well. I'm like, bloody hell do I want with these? Heated glove of my life. We'll go with that in a minute, maybe, if I don't bore you. But basically went from there with Dragon Jeans, went off and did that. But when we split, it hurt a lot. It really, it basically bankrupted me. It was absolutely nightmare. It was a real problem. Well, the whole company was based around Dragon Jeans. And actually what they did, which was a bit nasty, was they went to Fowler's at the same time, even though I had a sole distribution with them. They went to Fowler's, and the only reason I found out they were going to Fowler's was because a girl in Australia, a girl called Jo, who was basically the picker and packer in the warehouse, if you like, was chasing her up about an order. I said, Jo, where's this? I'm waiting for an order to come through. She went into the warehouse and said, oh, hold on, I've got 2 orders for the UK. I'm like, sorry, I've only ordered 1. And she said, oh, one's got Fowler's on it. I'm like, sorry? And it's first I knew of it, So it ended up with Grant and I basically swearing at each other. Had a fight in Milan, that's a different story. He sued me, I sued him, and it all ended in tears. So it was a nightmare time for me. But,
blimey.
They make you bounce up again and off you go. So from that, and fun enough, during that time, this was when Roadskin was born. Because Roadskin, I wasn't the founder of Roadskin originally. The founder was a guy, called Aid. And he was an ex-Royal Navy guy. Also, he was the heavyweight champion boxer of the Royal Navy as well. So he's a big guy. He's a bit of a Marmite guy, really, Aid. I personally always got on well with him, never had a problem with him. I think some people he'd wind up the wrong way, and he didn't. But I remember he came to me at the time. He was doing, do you remember Grin Factor T-shirts? Yeah. They had the big Grinny, he used to call them Grinny, that was Aid. So Aid had these T-shirts. He was doing Grin Factor T-shirts. So he's a really great designer. And he was doing the T-shirts, and he came to me when I was doing Dragon Jeans and said, look, Ian, I want to do, because I'd seen him at various shows when we was, just bumped into each other's shows, made friends. And he came up to me and said, do you mind if I do Kevlar jeans? I want to do Kevlar jeans. I said, no, it's no, I can't do anything about it. There's no patent on it anymore. You can do what you want to. It was a nice thing to ask me. I thought it was it was a nice thing to do. And he started up Roadskin, and that was probably 10 years ago.
Is that? It's only been going 10 years.
Yeah, something like that. Roadskin.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then fast forward 3 years ago, and Aid basically during the COVID crisis, I was seeing Aid, and he was in a bad place. I think COVID was funny for a lot of people. Some people were a bit. Yeah. I was lucky that it didn't work well for us. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't affect me mentally, and it didn't get on top of me. I thought, well, we'll get out of this somehow or other. I think some people did get on top of, and it caused a lot of trouble for a lot of people. And sadly, Aid was one of those. And at the time, we were doing his pick and pack operation for him, because he didn't want the hassle of doing admin stuff. So all his jeans were in our warehouse, and he would just send me an email. If I've sold a pair of jeans, we'd send them out for him. You do all the logistics? Yeah, we did all the logistics for him. And then he said, and we'd talk about our designs and stuff as well, because obviously I had the history from Dragon Jeans. But he was in a bad place, and I jokingly, a bit like the Terry thing, I said to him, hey, if you don't want to do it, mate, I'll take over for me any day. And he literally phoned me up the next day and said, yeah, I want to get out. Wow. And although people are very anti our friend Boris Johnson, and I'm not going to get into politics, Boris is my best friend, mate, because he gave us a really cheap loan during COVID, a business bounce back loan, and we paid 0.25% interest or something crazy. Gee whiz, really? Cheap. Yeah, which enabled us to buy out Roadskin. So it was great for Aid because Aid moved on to do. We're still in touch with him. I saw him last week. So Aid moved on and did house restoration. He just wanted to slow his life down and get into something he wanted to do, which is great for him. And we took on Roadskin and basically, started pushing ever since. So we put new leans on. So a lot of the stuff I've learned over the years. I think Aid was a bit careful. I say, I still like Aid. I think he was a bit maybe boring in his outlook on it. It was a very basic pair of jeans, did the job, and that was it.
Your marketing around Roadskin now, certainly in the last couple of years, the marketing's right on point. You seem to be ramping a lot of the different designs. You've got a couple of different designs of jeans coming out now. You've now just got that hoodie that's come out.
Yeah, we've done a few things. So what I've learned is, Mark, my ex-courier mate Mark, works with me now, which is great. So we both work together, which is fantastic. And he's really good at logistics and stuff. He's also good at the social media side, which I'm crap at. I said to him today, how do I post this on Facebook? And, oh God, Ian. And it's not my thing, So Mark does that. So he's really good at doing that. But between the two of us, bearing in mind we've both been riding bikes as couriers for God knows how long, we were riding bikes where there was no real decent waterproof clothing. We'd have dustbin bags underneath our jackets and motorcycle news on our chest to keep the cold off, and that's the way it was. So we know a lot about motorcycle clothing from a practical point of view. So we started doing our own designs and looking at the stuff they'd done. Hold on, we need this, we need that, we need to change this a little bit and look at designs. And we did it. And then, of course, we look at these jeans that we're designing and going, they don't look great, do they? Because neither of us are fashion guys. We're like, oh, okay. So we're good at the practical side and what works, technical side, if you like, but come fashion side, we weren't really great at making things look good. And we bumped into a lady called Sue, who used to be a designer, and she worked with Vivienne Westwood, amongst others. And she's brilliant. She works locally, and she now works with us as a consultant on design side. So she's putting changes in, like the hoodie that you were wearing in Spain. So that was quite a baggy hoodie when it was with Aid. So it's quite a baggy, almost like a bomber jacket type thing.
Yeah.
And protective wise, absolutely brilliant. It's a really great jacket, but looks wise, maybe a little bit baggy and a bit old fashioned. And so Sumi got hold of that. She took it in at the waist and did this, put pants on the shoulders, changed a few things. Then we put the design in, where you put your thumb through the thing on the sleeve. Yeah. Well, that comes actually from, it wasn't my design, but it came from a Dane jacket I used to have as a storm cuff, which is, it works so well. It just works so well. And I said to Sue, well, look, let's put this in. Let's put this into the hoodie because it works really well. I know it does. And so she designed it in for us, and it does work really well. So between the three of us, between me, Mark, and Sue. Now my wife's sitting here, she's going, what about me?
Yeah. I've got to admit, I was sat here going, mention your wife. Nick
does Nick does all the hidden stuff that keeps the company rolling. Basically stops me spending money on stuff. So she does all the account side of stuff, organise a lot of the shows and stuff. So we wouldn't be here without Nick either. I'm sorry, Nick.
On the styling, I've got to say this to you because it made me feel quite good. I was wearing that hoodie, and a couple of different people said, that looks really good on you. They were like, that actually looks a bit slimming. It's quite slimming. I was like, bloody hell, it must be good then. But yeah, quite a few people commented on it and said, the design of it is really good.
But it's funny you should say that because it's exactly when we were talking to Sue about it, and I was saying, it looks a bit baggy, and bear in mind I'm 62 now, so I'm getting bigger boobs than my wife. My belly's getting a bit out there, so I sort of lost my shape a bit. But I said to Sue, it's good that I want something that really just makes you look better, So when you put it on, you feel like not a Power Ranger as such, but you just feel like it looks good. And so that's why she changed the design of it. And we took 2 or 3 attempts to do it. And then when she was starting to make me look good in her mirror, I thought, this is right. We're getting the right way now. And that's what she can do. She's absolutely brilliant.
Well, she's plainly doing something right, because you've got people like Lady Harley, who's a beautiful young woman. She's wearing the stuff and looks amazing in it, and then you've got fat old geezers like me wearing it, and you feel great in it. So
we're really excited about it. But the thing is as well, it works. That's the point. If it can look good and it works, then it's brilliant. And we got people that say to us all the time that they're quite happy to wear their jeans in in the office and stuff. Fun enough, Steve Parrish got a pair of jeans and he wears them for golf. He likes wearing golf. Now, I'm not a golfer, but at the end of the day, if you can wear the jeans wearing golf, then they're a comfy pair of jeans, you know. And they
didn't think you were allowed jeans in a golf club.
I'll send you a link he sent us. It's
right.
Sorry, go on.
So what I was interested in is obviously I flew out to southern Spain a couple of weeks ago and then the Canaries last week. And I was interested because I'd heard a couple of people saying that they'd worn their like Kevlar jeans trying to get on the plane and they had issues going through security with them setting off various different things and getting frisked. I'd heard that people were having issues going through security. So I thought, I wonder if these will cause an issue. So I wore my hoodie and I wore the jeans and my speedy sort of casual boots.
So you say Speedos then?
Speedos, yeah, just in case.
You wouldn't get arrested.
And no problem at all, straight through. And they were fine, comfortable on the plane. It was all good.
Yeah, the great thing about them is you can wear our kit just as casual stuff, you know. So when you do a ride, I remember we had this thing with a venture bike rider where a lot of guys are wearing textile stuff, you know, when they're on their adventure bikes. Yeah, it looks cool, looks great, and it is good stuff, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, if you've done your ride down to the south of France, you've done your ride down to the bottom of Italy, and then you know, going around locally, whether it's the bars or sightseeing, whatever, you don't want to necessarily be in your textile stuff, you know, your Gore-Tex textiles hot. I can remember being in Milan on my multistrada, 42 degrees. Jesus Christ, I nearly boiled. Yeah. And I was wearing textile, you know, Gore-Tex stuff, and it's just too hot. And the interesting thing as well is, surprisingly enough, if you actually look at a lot of the A ratings on it with textile kit, it's quite low. It is quite low. You know, you're looking at A's and double A's. Of course, some is triple A as well, but the majority of it is double A, and quite a lot of it is single A as well, which is.
I had Ed Miles and Mick Wynn from Halverson's basically on, and Ed used to work for Rucker. So I was asking him about this sort of stuff because obviously Rucker, even the top of the range Navala suit, like $2,000 for the jacket and the trousers. I think that was single A rated. But what he was saying is that is this right, that a company have to pick which rating they want to be tested for. So a lot of the time they'll go for the lower rating just in case, like they'll go A rather than double A, just in case they don't get the double A one. Because it's not a case of, well, we've tested it and you're triple A, or we've tested it and you're only an A, so that's the one you get. If you go for double A and you don't make double A, you don't even get A, do you? It's just
that's right. That's exactly correct. So a lot of people, I remember with Dane stuff, which I love Dane stuff. It's a Dutch company. They make a lot of laminated Gore-Tex stuff. Yeah. But I was talking to Falco, who owns Dane, and when it was all coming into place, the double A and the triple A and everything else, he got the whole of their range done as single A because he knew that everything would pass. So it's easy for him to do that and just go, right, let's just get everything done as A first. And then as time goes on, we'll then bring in the double A's and the triple A's and stuff like that. Yeah. But I have to be, you're touching on quite a passionate thing about this. Yeah. You know, I completely understand why the levels are in there, you know, the A, the double A and the triple A. And it does make sense. Well, you know, the idea is you walk into a shop and it's easy for Joe Bloggs to go, what's that rating? Oh, it's a double A, that's good. Triple A, well, that's even better. And it's basically simplicity. That's how the way to do it. But the extraordinary thing is that with the testing itself, it's so, I don't know, there's so much to it. The biggest problem we have in the industry at the moment, in my opinion, is that basically you've got a lot of companies out there saying about slide times and being 11-second slide times and this second slide times and this. Yeah. And in reality, that's their whole selling point. And we have people coming to us at shows saying to us, you know, what's the slide time on your jeans? What's the slide time on this? And you want to go, well, let's just break this down a minute, you know. I mean, for starters, the slide time, what they don't take into account any of the testing places. We use Sartre, which is a UK one, but there's a number of, I think it's 3 different testing places. They've all got to be ISO certified to test equipment anyway. So I think it's 3 in the UK. There's Spain, Italy, all over the world. You can get them tested anywhere to the same levels. Yeah, they all use the same tests. It's all ISO rated. The testing stations are ISO rated, so you all get the same level, which is great. But the thing is, the testing itself is so ambiguous, if you like, that it makes a bit of a joke of it. I mean, I say this because we test our jeans. We did a drag test on our video. It's on our video, and we actually did it down at Chatham Dockyards. So there's a big old warehouse down there, and we hired the warehouse for the day. We got the local hog club to come down and drag us up and down the warehouse there to test that. And to be honest, we were doing it really for more of a sort of filming thing, just for a bit of media stuff. But what we realised was very quickly, which they don't take into account at Sartre or any of the testing stations, is the difference in weight makes such a huge difference. So Stuart, I weigh 16 stone. Stuart weighs 13 stone. So not a lot of difference, really. Don't get me wrong, I wish I weighed 13 stone, but I don't. But you're talking 3 stone, so it's not a huge bit of difference. So, you know, same speed, same jeans, same road surface, everything exactly the same, apart from Stuart was 13 stone and I'm 16 stone. We went to the same warehouse at the same time. He could do the run 3 times in the same pair of jeans. I could only do the run twice in the same pair of jeans. There's a big, big difference. You know,
I'm nearly
really
21 stone.
Well, exactly. You know, people say to me, I've got one of my friends he wants a size 54 jean. And we're saying to him, and I'm saying, I can't make it for you. Because at the end of the day, it's not that. We haven't tested it to that. We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. We really don't, you know. And that size, we got to 46 waist anyway. And to me, that's really pushing the limit, because I know that a guy at 46 waist is going to be, what, 20-something stone?
I was a 42. I got 42. Yeah. That is baggy in the waist, but that's to get me legs. That is to get me legs and calves in. But yeah, there ain't too much room. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but they don't take into account the weight of the person. And the other thing they don't take into account, which I find extraordinary, is the road surface. Yeah. So, one of the manufacturers out there at the moment is quoting 11.5 second slides time. And when you actually look into how it's done, they're using a 10 stone rider.
Yeah.
The 10 stone rider in all his kit, the guy probably weighed 8 stone.
It's crazy that they don't like use a crash test dummy or something, you know, like a set standard weight. Just weight it at like 15 stone or something, 16 stone.
Yeah, I think to be fair, it's a very difficult thing to do, you know, and I've watched loads of stuff on the internet about people trying to do it. And it's very difficult to actually replicate it, you know, because at the end of the day, if you have a crash, what's going to happen is you're going to roll. You know, we quote 11 second slides time. When was the last time we ever had an accident on the road and slid for 11 seconds without hitting a curb or a car or a traffic bollard or whatever? It just doesn't happen.
And you're going to be going to slide for 11 seconds. You're going to have to be going a heck of a speeder, you know?
Well, the other extraordinary thing is they do 2 tests. They do a downstrad test, which effectively is a piece of polished concrete, which whizzes round and round and round, and they drop they cut the jean material into, this is for the abrasion test here, they cut the material into 3, when they drop the sort of 3-prong thing on the spinning disc, and however long that disc takes to stop is what they then quote as the slide time.
Okay.
That's polished concrete. Well, have you ever ridden on polished concrete in your life?
No.
And the reason for that is because it's a German machine, hence it's called Damstrad, and in Germany most of the roads are made of concrete. So, you know, if you take that test then into the UK, where none of the roads, well, some, but very few roads are made of concrete, and then you add in shell grip, for instance, Christ, you fall off from shell grip, it's going to rip your arse through.
Potholes.
Yeah, exactly. But the other test they use is a Damstrad, it's a Cambridge test, which is like a sanding belt. And basically, again, so they do, that is tougher. So I think it's equivalent to sort of 80 grit or whatever it is. I can't remember exactly what it is. But the extraordinary thing for that is the speed of that is 7.6 meters per second, the actual belt spinning round.
Yeah.
Break that into miles an hour. Have a guess.
7.6 meters per second. Good God. Come on, do basic maths. 7.6 meters per second, times that by 676, so it's about 400 meters a minute, times that by 60. What's that? 2.5 kilometers? No, 25 kilometers. What's that? About 50 miles an hour?
No, you're close. 17 miles an hour.
17 miles an hour. I was going to say 60 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, but you know, and again, it's what I'm saying. And I say, I'm not having a go at Sartre at all. Of course not. I keep saying Sartre is unfair. Any of the testing places.
Yeah.
That's 70 miles an hour. Christ's sakes, when do you fall off a 70 mile an hour?
Yeah, exactly.
I fall off my bike at 70 mile an hour purely from losing balance.
Yeah.
You know,
even if it was 30 miles an hour, like as a biker, you'd think, well, you know, that's quite slow. Surely you'd want to hit 60 miles an hour, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but it's very arbitrary. It's all very arbitrary. And I think the thing is, at least people know that if it's A, AA or AAA, it gives them some sort of guidelines to how good it is, you know. But what I'm saying is ultimately you can't to recreate a road accident is virtually impossible. And funny enough, when the new standards first came out, there was always, I'll get this number wrong, I think it's EN 13952 or something. But anyway, there was already a standard in place for motorcycle clothing. So, for instance, the police had to use this standard. And that's been around for years. And fun enough, they're dropping that standard this year, I believe, or next year. But that standard was higher than the AAA and was higher than the AAA rating.
Yeah,
and the reason why
about that.
The manufacturers wouldn't make it to that standard because it cost them too much money. So they dropped it. And now at the moment, they're trying to get it pushed through for, they're looking at getting a new one done as a 4A and 5A rating as well.
Wow.
And the 5A realistically will be about as good as the old one that they dropped. But apparently, so that just things I hear on the grapevine, is that European manufacturers don't want it because, or it's a UK thing that they're doing. It's nothing to do with Europe because obviously we're now out of the EU. So it's a UK one they're trying to push it through, but the Europeans don't want it because that means that UK stuff will be better than European stuff, which then gives the UK a better chance of selling into Europe. So you know, there's a lot of politics in it, but the bottom line is it's better than nothing. But I just take this thing where people say, how far can your jeans go? I'm like, really? How much do you weigh? What's the road surface? Is it raining? You know, there's so many other questions. And they always ask the same question. And that's just down to marketing.
But bear in mind the testimonials that we've got.
So, Mark, we can't really hear what you're saying, pal. You'll need to come into camera.
Here he comes. Hey, Marky.
How you doing?
Bear in mind, Bruce, that on the testimonials we got on the website that are volunteered to us by people that have used our jeans. Going on slide times, you know, there's one that's going to come up shortly where a guy had an accident and he slid for 20 metres in our jeans in AA in the Easy Riders.
Wow.
And didn't rip the jeans. He said they wore, but they didn't rip the jeans at all. He said he had a little bit of a mark on his knee from obviously the knee armour pushing down from where he crashed. But he said this is him telling us he slid for 20 metres, he reckons. You know, so we've got plenty of testimonials that say people slide for a very long time. Although the way we look at it is ultimately, you know, we know they'll protect you. The chances, I'm not disputing the guy, but the chances of sliding, unless you're on a racetrack, you know, you will bounce and bob all over the place.
You're going to hit furniture, aren't you?
Yeah, that's where the jeans come into their element because they're AAA rated woven Kevlar and denim. So with the bouncing and bobbing, you've got a greater chance of not actually hurting yourself. Sliding for 20 metres is bloody amazing. But, you know...
I guess this is why I get a bit uptight about the slide time thing. And it's everywhere. It's all over the internet. It's all over people's adverts, competitor adverts and stuff. The extraordinary thing is, and there are manufacturers out there that have jeans that are rated, but if you actually read the specs, it's only the material is rated to A or AA, but the garment isn't even tested. Which means
all the stitches
string to hold them together,
apart.
which means it's just going to burst open. So it's a real nightmare. But it's something that in Roadskin we take it seriously. So we try and make the best looking things, thanks to Sumi. But theoretically, they're also they protect us as well.
The other thing is, Bruce, is you can't stop people having accidents. Yeah, nobody wants to have an accident. We don't want people to have an accident. We don't want people to put the jeans to the test. But ultimately, we ride the bikes ourselves. We know what we want. We know what works for us. We use the best possible material we can to make the jeans be as abrasion resistant as they possibly can be at this moment in time. And the way we look at it ultimately is, if we're willing to ride in it, then
test our accident.
If we're willing to ride in it, then we know that we will put our money where our mouth is. We will always go. I know Ian was talking about how Dane and the others, not just Dane, but others would always go for the rating, the A, AA or AAA, that they can get away with. We will always push ourselves the other way. We will try and get the AAA. We'll put ourselves in for a AAA, and if we fail, then we'll try and figure out why we failed, try and figure out what we can do to make it a AAA. If we can't make it a AAA, we'll then put it in again for a AA rating. So we won't go for the easiest option. We'll go for the hardest option because that's what makes it a better garment.
Yeah, got you. Makes sense, really, doesn't it? You're sort of getting one above the competition then if you can get that AAA, AA.
Well, you tell them.
Interesting enough, we've got a new gene coming out now, which are actually getting tested to the old ratings which are going. So theoretically, it'll be a five-star rated gene. And we don't have to. There's no reason to do it, but we want to do it ourselves to see if we can make a comfy jean, which is basically a 5-star rated jean. It'd be 5A rated jean, which will be, good. I don't think those standards will ever be out there, but they're talking about it. And let's see if we can make the jean for it. And yeah, it's quite exciting. But just one more thing on the whole thing as well, and this I find extraordinary. So did you know that you can get so AAA is the highest rating at the moment, yeah?
Yeah.
But do you know that you can use the level 1 armour in AAA rated jeans? So if armour, you get level 1 and level 2 being the better one. I was staggered to find, because I actually found out, because we only use level 2, because to us it's like, well, that's the best you can get, use level 2. And I was talking to the guys at Sartre at the Milan show recently, just to get a few ideas. I like understanding how they test things, so we can then think, okay, well, we can do that, and sort of push the limits a bit. And I was asking about armour, and I said, I don't understand why there are jeans and they've got their AAA rated jeans, but they're only using level 1 armour. They said, yeah, we allow that to pass. And I'm like, but that's crazy.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Well, no, exactly. It doesn't make sense because it's sinking the ship for an eighth of the tar. If you're producing these AAA rated jeans, why wouldn't you put level 2 armour in them?
Yeah, it's like putting like budget Chinese knockoff tyres on a blooming Lamborghini, isn't it? Why would you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. But this is what I was saying.
You do your own research. It's incredible. It's just unbelievable. Wow. And the majority are using level 1 armour.
Do you know, as a consumer, all this sort of stuff, I've got to admit, was totally not on my radar at all. I just sort of went, for my textile suit, I was like, everyone kept telling me Rucka were so damn good, and I was like, well, they're expensive as hell. Everyone talks about them. Everyone says they're the creme de la creme, and I bought them. And I bought them with no research into like slide ratings, armour, anything like that. None of it. But now, having had a few people talk to me and say, oh, you might want to have a little look at this and that. Now I do look at all this sort of stuff. And that was how you guys came on my radars, because I started seeing the ads for Roadskin on like Instagram and talking about your AA and AAA rated jeans and everything like that. And I was like, oh, right, okay. So that sort of led me towards you guys. And then obviously Mark dropped me a line.
This is why Mark and I and of course Nick, we love doing all the shows. We're doing 18 shows stroke rallies next year. We've got a full season. We're going into Europe, which is great. And we do it because we love talking to people and we love explaining. So people come up like yourself and go, oh, well, what's it like time? We can go, hold on a minute.
Pull up a seat, get yourself a drink.
Yeah, we can talk about it. And we do talk a lot about it and we do go on about it. But we're passionate about it, we believe in it. We love our kit. And you learn a lot as well. You learn an awful lot from people. So we've changed some of our designs. Fun enough, we had an inside pocket now to the hoodie that you've got. Because someone at the shows, in fact, 3 or 4 people at one show said, oh, it's a great jacket, I love it. You put an inside pocket so we can put a phone in. And why don't we have an inside pocket for a phone? So next lot's come out of a pocket on the inside for phones. Right. So we, and that was directly from people talking to us and telling us. So
feedback from someone.
We're changing stuff all the time for things like that. So that's exciting times.
Right, listen, we are an hour and a half in and we've not started questions. There's a few questions for us to go through. It's all right. No worries. Do you need a pee break or anything like that?
I need a beer break.
I will have a quick wee, actually, yeah. This isn't
no worries. No, it's not.
Pass me the bottle.
See you in a pee break. Me again, folks, just a short one this. We are also sponsored this month by the Influencer Store. If you go to TeapotOne.com, you'll go to the shop, check out any of the merchandise that I have available. That is all handled by the Influencer Store right here in the UK. I've got a quick bit of blurb to read out for them, and that is, the Influencer Store helps you build your brand, big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Make sure you check them out, folks. Head to TeapotOne.com, head to the shop, and you'll be supporting both the TeapotOne channel and the podcast right here if you buy anything from the merchandise. So a massive thanks in advance to you, and a huge thanks to the Influencer Store. And we're also sponsored by Ultimate Add-ons. Now, Ultimate Add-ons, they make dustproof and shockproof mobile phone cases and action camera mounts. They will fit just about every single bike out there. Me personally, I always use the Helix strap mount because it means I can easily attach that to just about any bike that I'm riding at that time. I can jump on and off bikes and just easily unscrew the strap, whack it on the next bike, tighten it all up, and off I go. It's very versatile. I've had no vibration issues affecting my camera using the Helix strap. That's the one that I will stand by and swear by. Been using it about 5 years now. So again, if you head to Ultimate Add-ons, so that's Ultimate with ADDONS, ultimateaddons.com. If you use the code TEAPOT110, so TEAPOTONE with the number 10, you'll get 10% off. And lastly, folks, I just want to say a massive thank you to you. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast, for watching the vids, for commenting, for liking, for sharing, for following and subscribing. It all is a massive, massive help. We're on a bit of an upturn at the moment. The podcast is gathering momentum. The channel is certainly doing really well. So a huge thanks to everybody who's been involved with that. If you want to go that extra mile, then you can always buy some merch over at TeapotOne.com, or if you really want to get committed, you can join the clan over at patreon.com/TeapotOne. All links for everything are down below, folks. I appreciate any support in any form you can give. All right, then. That's enough with the beg and bowl. Let's get back to the podcast. Oh, yeah, you're right.
I'm the long suffering who apparently had nothing to do with the company ever.
Yeah, I know. I felt like getting a bit of paper and writing it out, just going like, Nicky, mention Nicky.
None taken.
Yeah, we haven't. Were you at the shop when I? Yeah, I think you were at the shop the second time I came. Weren't you?
I think I came in when. Yes, I did. Yeah,
just popped in. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I was well impressed. I wore them out in Spain, southern Spain, and the temperatures ranged from like 10 to I think 24 degrees there, and it rained a bit right up in the top of the mountains, and it was lovely. It was really nice. Kept me warm. It wasn't too hot. And then when I went to Canaries last week, it got to 33 degrees at one point. Nice. Like my wife sending me messages going, it was -4 here this morning. I'm like, it's 33 here. And yeah, it was great. Loved it. I'm just washing all the kit now, actually, because
we've had so many positive reviews on the hoodie. It's been brilliant, actually. Yeah. It's been absolutely brilliant. And when we went to the NEC, because as Ian said, when you do the shows, that's when you get a chance to actually speak to the public who tell you what they're looking for. I mean, Ian knows, we're all riders. I ride a bike, we've all got our licenses, we all ride. So we sort of know what the consumer wants, but there is always something that somebody can tell you. It's a learning process the whole step of the way. And when we do the shows, it's lovely. But the comments we get from with people walking past at the NEC go, I got your hoodie, it's brilliant. They love it. They absolutely love it.
And it's amazing how, I was saying to Ian, how the brand seems to appeal to so many different like ages and types of biker. Like from... is it Lady Harley? I've seen on Instagram. Yeah, so you've got young ladies right through to people like me, and everyone in between semes to like them.
Well, I think that exactly. Reasonable. That's what we're trying to do, because it was when we took it on, and obviously Ian told you the story of that. We wanted to develop it, we wanted it to grow, and we wanted to appeal to more people. And we often had people at the shows saying. They'd obviously bring their wives along to the show, and the wives would be the riders and say, well, have you got anything for us? And it's like, okay, we need to extend our range. But it's quite a slow process, because as Ian said, you can't just say, okay, we'll just do a ladies jean, and there you go, there's a ladies jean. You've got to go through all the testing, and it's honestly at the moment from concept to getting it out there is a year. It takes us a year. Yeah. It's a year from the moment we say, okay, let's do a ladies' the leggings that we do at the moment. So from that moment we say, okay, let's do a legging, to actually getting it out on the shelves, as it were, is a year. It's a year of production, getting them over, going, okay, we're not happy with that, and doing tweaks here and there. So there might be 3 or 4 samples coming over, and then of course you have to go for the testing, and it's now taking nearly 6 months to do that. So it's such a long process. So, you know, when people say, oh, can you do a bigger size, or can you do this? It's like, yeah, but it's not going to be tomorrow because
see you next season.
There is such a lot involved. But yeah, I'm really glad you're pleased with it. Anyway, I don't want to hijack it. Ian's come
Excellent.
back.
Nice to chat to you. Ta-ra.
Oh, bad luck, you got me back.
Right, sorted?
Sorted.
Right. Welcome back, folks. Right, first off, we'll head to the clan over on Patreon. So it's patreon.com/TeapotOne. First one we have here, Mark Fulcher. All right, you're going to have to pay attention on this one, Ian, because Mark likes to rant. Let's see. Hey up, me ducks. So, going to keep this relatively simple this week. Questions for all to answer. Now, Ian being an ex-courier, and if Bruce hasn't already said, he went on a bit of a ride once upon a time, yawn. So you must have seen some pretty interesting things en route. So my questions are, your scariest road experience you've had or witnessed whilst out and about?
Yeah, I suppose the scariest one was, fun enough, on a courier bike. And actually, at the time, it wasn't scary because I was unconscious. But afterwards, it made you realise how bad. So riding down the back of South West 11, took a back road because I thought it was going to be quicker to cut the corner. Wet roads, lady pulled out straight in front of me. And it's that moment between knowing that you're not going to be able to stop and what to do. It's just horrible. And you know you're going to hit the car and you brace yourself for it. But that was extraordinary. I did a lot of damage to that. Broke my back, bashed my brain in, did 101 things to it. But you know, the weirdest thing about the whole thing was, because obviously I was unconscious, ended up in hospital. But the strangest thing and the scariest thing was that when it came to the insurance and stuff, I had to go down because, like every claim, it wasn't my fault. Someone pulled out in front of me, claimed my crash and stuff. They wanted the police report for it, and I had to go down and pay for the police report for the accident. So I went down to the police station and paid for it.
You have to pay for the report. You had to pay for the report.
Yeah, had to go and pay for the report. So I got this report back. We're going back 25 years ago. I think it was cash over the counter. I can't remember. Anyway, won't go down that road. Anyway, the point was, I got the report. I was reading it, and the police report, the guy said the police guy was writing it. And he said, I was called to the scene of the accident. I walked up to the accident. I could see a motorcycle on the road, and the car was all smashed in, and in the gutter, lying face down, was a white Caucasian that wasn't moving, and he looked dead. And he walked up, and I thought, Jesus Christ, it was horrible, man.
Yeah, I had a similar thing with I've had someone pull out on me, and I end up rugby tackling her polo. I think it was a polo, and that put me in the hospital. But I think the worst I've ever felt was seeing my mate do that. A pal of mine, we were on tour in Spain and we'd gone into Portugal, and it's the old, everyone's behind you. I was leading, and then all of a sudden no one's there, and you're like, oh, this ain't right. Then one of my mates sort of caught up with me, and we trundled along for a while. Nobody, and then no traffic is coming from that direction either. So you just know, don't you? And I remember I turned round and went back, and it was like a bomb had gone off, and all my mates were like, some were stopping traffic, and a load of them were over in like the side of the road in the gully where our mate was, and you're just like, oh no. Thankfully he survived, but that's horrible, isn't it?
Reports from a third party, it really brings it home. It's like, wow. But the scariest bit is it's that moment when someone's pulled out in front of you. You're on the brakes, you can't stop. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's that there's seconds, isn't it? And it's just horrible, absolutely horrible.
I saw a horrific thing in Thailand, which I'll not go into too many of the details of, but out in Thailand, they're a lot of them are Buddhists. They follow the Buddhist religion. So for them, it's just like, well, if it's God's will, it's God's will. He just pulls out, and this lad on a moped just pulled out from a side road in front of one of the flatbed trucks. They're like 20, 30 foot high, just stacked with stuff on the back of this flatbed, and he just pulled out in front of it. Because that's just what they do, you know. It's, well, if it's God's will, I'll get away with it, and if it's not, oh well. And yeah, this truck collected him, and well, yeah, I stopped to see if I could help, but the most important part of you wasn't attached to the rest of him. And it's like, oh, blimey.
I think that was one of my courier days. You know, I love my courier days. It was very anarchic. It was very drug-fueled, drink-fueled, crazy times, you know. And it was really, really great times. But the most horrendous thing was we lost, I think, 3 riders during the time there. And that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. There's nothing worse than knowing, you know, you're on the radio talking to them, and then there's no one there, and you're calling them and you're calling them and calling them. We had an instance once where, you know, we had the police guy picking up and went, you know, this is PC, whatever, 2589. Who am I talking to? Explain it and said, well, I'm afraid your rider's in an accident. He's down. We're calling the ambulance. It's horrible because you're so close to these guys away. They all work and laugh together and go to the pub together on a Friday night. And then, it's sad times. But
blimey. Right, let's bring the mood up. Cheers for that one, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Mark, yeah. He's got another question. Best route for a cup of splosh and cake.
Sorry, say that again?
Best route for a cup of splosh and cake. So best sort of bike calf, what route do you do?
Well, we go down to the coast from here. What's it called? Where there's a calf down there in that bend. What's that one called? Where the road's going, the whole cliffs are going away. We've been down there. Burning Gap.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there's a really nice road there as well. And it's a great road because on the way down, it's got a couple of complete, you know, hairpins on the way down. But the great thing is that if you're at the top, you can see all the way to the bottom. You can see there are no cars, there's no police, there's no nothing. So for that 2 miles or so, you completely own that road and you can do your own thing. It's just brilliant.
And that's the Burling Gap.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good calf down there as well.
What's your tipple and like favourite sort of eat at a bike calf? Are you a tea or coffee man? And what do you go for food wise?
Tea and a sausage sandwich.
Red or brown sauce? Yeah.
Red.
We're getting into fighting talk now.
Actually, usually I go for mustard if I'm honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, posh. Posh. Continental option. He's got one more.
There was a calf down that used to be at the bottom of just by Brands Hatch there. What was that calf called? Like most of them, it used to be a brilliant biker's haunt. See, when people ask what biker's calf now, the majority of them all closed down, the ones I know.
Yeah. Well, even the Oakdean that on the A20, is it A21? That's gone now as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's incredible. And don't forget, we're going back to days where with Box Hill, where they got Riker's calf now. You know, we used to go to Box Hill when there weren't speed bumps on Box Hill.
Right.
It was great, and there used to be.
I bet that was fun.
Yeah, there used to be a time. They used to be timed from the top to the bottom and bottom to the top. And we used to time each other up and down.
He's the reason there's no speed bumps there.
Yeah, okay,
he's the reason why you can't get a bike when you're 17. It's this generation.
Yeah, have you ever been to Heston Services?
No.
So if you go to Heston Services now, you'll go in their car park and there's barriers all the way across the car park. Do you know
is that your fault as well? Go on.
Because in the old days, it's third Thursday. Yeah, third Thursday. We used to go Chelsea Bridge, third Thursday of every month. We used to meet at Chelsea Bridge, and I mean hundreds. Yeah. And we used to race down M4, off of the first roundabout, back up to Heston Services and stopping the services. And there it was just burnouts and wheelies and drag racing across the car park, and then back to Chelsea Bridge again. It was great. Can't do that.
It genuinely is all their fault. It is.
Yeah, well, I do wonder about it. Yeah, I think you're probably right. But
you had a great time. That's all right.
Oh, yeah.
Right, next one. Just to lower the tone.
Now.
Don't worry about it. Just to lower the tone. Best. Oh, God. Cheers, Mark. I'll probably get blacklisted now. Best backside you've seen in a set of leathers on a bike, and being thankful that the missus wasn't on the back and that tinted visors are a thing. You'd never guess Mark is newly single, would you?
Well, sadly, I'm being really boring here because my wife's got the best backside.
Good man. Good man.
He's learned. And actually, there's another. I can give you another bit more to that as well. When we were doing the ladies' jeans, We did the first pair of jeans, which we did, and we realised they were a bit low at the back. So when girls are on the bike, bearing in mind Nick isn't a passenger, she got a pillion, she rides back anyway. Down. But what we realised is, of course, it was too low, and then we found that your knickers are sticking out the top. So what we actually did was, and this is our testing and our how we design our clothing, we got her sitting on the bike in the warehouse. We measured how high her knickers were sticking up above the jeans.
Is this your excuse, is it? Right.
No, this is true, and that is exactly how much we added to the jeans. Think design work. That's how it works.
But what you've got to remember, Bruce, is that took 26 models to do that.
Yeah. I bet. Well, you've got to get an average, don't you? You need to make sure.
I was there for 6 hours with my camera. Genuinely, Nick's butt's the best.
Excellent. Well done. I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to say a thing. Also, if this is the last one before Christmas, happy Christmas to everyone. Get pissed, put on at least 2 notches on the belt and enjoy some well-earned R&R. Cheers, Mark. You too, pal. Right, next one. Louise Worsfold. Evening all. I recently bought a Roadskin belt, which is great quality. Thank you for a decent product. 2 questions, if I may. First, what's the worst bike-related item that you've ever bought or been given, and why was it rubbish? Ooh. Ooh. Worst bike-related
Well,
item.
if I'm honest, the worst bike, I didn't really buy it. I got given it as a present. Does that count?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, being given is one of them. Yeah.
Cool. So my mum knitted me a jumper with a motorcycle on it.
Wow. He was 32.
It was awful. And I used to have to wear it as well. Look, I've got a jumper on, Mum. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Come on, Mark.
I'll tell you one that I've had recently, Bruce, and it's probably because I'm a total imbecile and I don't know how to use it properly. Is one of those, I don't know if you see them on Instagram and that, it's one of those chain lube protecting the wheel things. They're in orange, and you basically put them around the back of the wheel, and then you spray your chain lube on and you clean them.
Yes, I've seen them.
Can I master that? But I've used it once. It's chucked to the back of the garage now. It took me, I put so much crap on the floor that I ended up, this is a total waste of 30 quid, this was. But anyway, that's an aside.
Yeah, I've never used one of them. I had God, I'll probably get sued now. I had a Scott oiler, but I could never get the flow rate right on it. Because it was either, even at the like the lowest setting, the slowest setting, it was still putting too much oil onto my chain, so it would just flick off onto the edge of my tire. I could never master it. But loads of people have told me they're fantastic, but I couldn't.
Well, I'm worse than that. I don't lube my chain that often because I don't like all the rubbish going on my wheel.
Yeah.
I'd rather replace the I'd rather replace the chain more often than have a clean bike.
Yeah, or you just buy the best bike in the world and have a drive shaft. You see, GS has got a drive shaft.
Oh yeah, Bruce. And on that subject, what is the best bike in the world?
Well, it depends. It's between the Gixxer and the GS 1250.
Okay. Moving on.
Moving on. Silence. Silence. Next one, Trev. Evening, Ian and Bruce. Hope you're both enjoying a cold one or two. Yes, pal, we are working our way through it. Couple of questions, if I may. As I'm a relatively new biker, if you could go back in time, what's the best piece of biking advice you would give to your younger biker self? Oh, good question. Best advice.
While you're thinking, Bruce, go
on if you've got one.
Yeah, mine's easy. Go for an off-road course. Do an off-road course. Absolutely 100% behind it. And there's loads of them. Honda do them, KTM do them. You can, BMW do them, Triumph do them. You can pay for an off-road day. If you drop the bike, it's not yours, not good, but, at least it doesn't cost you anything. But more importantly, you get to learn a bike moving underneath you on slippery surfaces, which translates into, if you have an accident on the road or someone pulls out in front of you in a wet road, at least you're used to the bike moving. And I said that both my kids learned to ride off-road first. So to anyone, I'd say, if you're going to ride a bike on the road, do an off-road day, and the more the better. Yeah, definitely. And I would suggest some sort of tuition on track as well. So you're learning on the off-road side of things. You're learning about bike control and the feel of the bike moving beneath you, and the importance of body position and all that sort of stuff. But then conversely, on the track with tuition, you learn how
Most importantly, how hard you can actually brake, I think is really quite important, and how much grip tyres have on tarmac for sure. That was quite a revelation for me. I did the Ron Aslam race school, and it was peeing it down like torrential rain, and we all turned. It was a tyre launch, I think, for Bridgestone, and we turned up. Well, I rode up there, so I was the only one in leathers. Everybody else, all the other journos were in cars, and none of them had put any kit on because they're like, well, there's no way this is going to be cancelled. And Ron Aslam came in, and he was just like, why are you not ready? And one of the journos was like, well, there's no way we're going out in this. And he was like, hang on a minute, hold my beer. And he went out and he did spanked a lap out on the Silverstone. Came back in and he was like, right.
Was incredible.
It was incredible. I mean, I wasn't knee down, but blimmin' heck, it was outstanding, the grip that they had. As you said, it's not your bike, is it? So, you push it. And it was an eye-opener.
My dad taught me as well, and this has lived with me forever. And it was when I first started riding bikes, we were driving on the car, fun enough, and he said to me, he was talking about, he had an advanced driver's instructor, and we were talking about how they do and what they do and stuff. And he said, one of the things the advanced driving instructor was, or driver instructor, but he suddenly put his hand over the rear view mirror. Yeah. And then he turned around Dad and said, what's behind you? And Dad was like, and he couldn't answer it. And it's extraordinary because this thing about the lifesaver thing, about looking over your shoulder, which I do, and I am teaching everyone else. And I'm quite like, why? Why do you even do the lifesaver? You should know what's behind you. You should always be looking in rear view mirrors. Yeah. Since my dad told me that all the time I ride, I'm always constantly aware of what's behind me. Yeah. And that's, life saving, of course, is good. It's a good thing to do, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't need to do it because you should know what's behind you all the time.
Yeah, I actually got criticised for looking in my mirrors too much on the police bike course, and I was like, too much? It's just from I did the police car course, and there you're constantly it's literally like every couple of seconds checking the mirrors all the time, absolutely. And it's just force of habit. It's force of habit now for me.
It's just about always being aware of the environment. What's going on. I'm staggered about a number of people that don't do it. You shouldn't be thinking about, I've got to look over to my shoulder, see if there's a car overtaking me. No, there's a car coming up fast behind you. Especially if it's got blue lights on it,
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. That's one of the reasons, isn't it? Is knowing what's round about you and knowing is that unmarked car that's been behind me for quite a while now. All right, what's going on with it?
Absolutely.
Okay, cheers that one, Trev. Oh, he's got another one. This doesn't have to be bike related. If you were a guest on Room 101, what two things would you put in there? Two things, Room 101.
101's when you get rid of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, stuff you've got to get rid. Yeah.
So
stuff you don't want.
For me, I would put every MP in the land.
Oh yes,
every single one of them.
Absolutely.
And the second thing I put in is every single bloody journalist, except for motorcycle journalists.
Obviously.
Honestly, I can't believe the crap that's on these days.
It annoys me now because I sort of probably naively grew up thinking, I would say certainly into my 20s, up until my 20s, I grew up thinking stuff on the news, on the BBC, that's fact and that's just the way it is. And then all of a sudden went into the old bill and dealt with stuff that made the news, and you're like, that's not what happened. That's utter bollocks that you're reporting. And you suddenly realise it's not true at all, is it? It's just what is news, what's nicely good to market.
Yeah. I know, it's unbelievable. So that's who I put in. All the MPs and all the journalists. Apart from bike journals, who I love.
Apart from bike journals, yeah, well covered. I was going to say traffic wardens, but I suppose traffic wardens are a necessity because it would be carnage, but it already is carnage. It is carnage in town. So
yeah, I think traffic wardens now are just a way to make money, aren't they? Local councils.
Yeah. And these private speed camera operator things, I don't like that. If I'm going to get done for speeding, I want it to be from a physical copper. Do you know what I mean? But an actual person.
I personally am very pro speed cameras. I think they're brilliant.
Oh,
because what's happened is now they've got so many speed cameras on the road, they've basically removed all the traffic police. I think I was talking to a policeman in Kent, probably about 5-6 years ago. And he was in, I don't want to drop anyone in, so I've been careful I say, but he was in getting some heated clothing off us, and his radio was on and stuff. And he got called away to a incident, which was probably a good 25 miles away from where we were. And I made the comment about, God, isn't there anyone closer? And he said on that day, there were only 2 traffic police, excluding motorways, only 2 traffic police on the road in the whole of Kent.
Yeah.
You know, there's so few traffic police now. It's great. So as long as you know where the speed cameras are and there's no traffic police on the road, it's great.
It's not just traffic police. Sometimes there's just no police, full stop. You know, there's hardly any to cover an entire county. It's ridiculous. London is like an anomaly, really. There's so many old Bill in London, but even then, there's not as many as there used to be at all.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
It's sad, you know, if you could reverse the Room 101 thing in the little box, it would be if we got rid of all the politicians and all the media that we're talking about, not by journos, and then we could replace all the MPs with normal people like you and I that maybe got a bit of common sense.
Like a taxi driver.
Well, I just think really, you know, like, God, you can sort the world out so easily.
Iceland did that. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I'll tell you a quick story, Bruce, about the police and that. I've got a few mates that work in the police or have worked in the police. One of them used to work for the Essex, and he used to phone me up, that it was so politically correct, the police force. He used to phone me up when he was locking the station up, because he was the only one in the station. And he said to me that if the people of this town, I won't tell you what town it is, actually knew how many active police officers there are here, they would be absolutely shitting themselves.
Yeah.
He used to phone me up because he was being threatened, and he used to phone me up so that I could be a witness if something were to happen to him when he's locked the station up and got in his car. So he used to phone me up until he'd actually got in his car and was driving away. And that was it. And that's how bad it had become. You know, I'm not saying it might be slightly different now. When it wasn't that long ago. You know, you're talking about between 5 and 10 years. But it becomes so politically correct that there's hardly any police kicking around.
It's like that now. There's half the amount of coppers in the Met that there were when I joined. Well, I joined and they got the numbers up to, was it 37 or 40,000? I think they got up to, which is incredible because that's more than just about any other county constabulary put together in the UK.
This is close to the Met where he worked. It was on the fringes. And that's about the best you're going to get out of me. Anyway, see you later.
No worries.
I'll tell you what it was, Bruce.
What you said there about normal people into government, that's exactly what Iceland did, though, didn't it? After the financial crash of 2008, when like Iceland basically restarted, and they put the head of fisheries was a fisherman, the head of farming was a farmer, like the head of schools was a teacher. And you're like, does that makes sense, does it not?
It's the same candidate, do the same thing.
Yeah. Whereas here in the UK, you'll be the Chancellor like for 6 months, and then you're swapped around.
And then you're the Health Minister.
Yeah, it's like, how does this work?
Or you get Kamikaze Kwarteng, lasted 2 days. There you go. But anyway.
Right, no more politics. Stop politics and religion. Let's stop it. Right, Trev says, many thanks and hope you both have a great Christmas and a fruitful 2023. Cheers, Trev. Same to you, pal.
Thank you.
Right, second last one. Rebecca Christie. Evening all. Question for Ian, and apologies if it's something I should know the answer to. What bike did you do the Red Bull Romaniacs on and why? We haven't even mentioned this. You've not even brought this up. You did the Red Bull Romaniacs.
I did it on a KTM 300.
Wow. When was this that you did it?
Yeah. Nick's corrected me. Second time I did a Husqvarna, but Husqvarna KTM, same factory.
You've done it twice?
Yeah.
Bloody hell, come on.
First time I did it because I hadn't ridden. I used to do a lot of off-road stuff, so I used to do a lot of enduros. Did at Clubman's level, I hate to point out, I did British Championships, Southeast Championships and stuff. And at the time, looked after myself, I was quite good. So it's quite cool. And then life got involved, courier companies, kids, all the rest of it, didn't do any off-road riding. Then about 12 years ago, got divorced. Things went a bit pear-shaped on me. Sitting there on my own going, what am I going to do? And I thought, I'm going to go back off-road riding again. And I really love doing it. It's a real passion of mine. And so I thought, what's the hardest event to do? I know, Red Bull Romaniacs. And so I did it having not ridden off-road for about 20 years or so. Long time.
Jesus.
And the first time I did my press ups before I went out there. We drove out to Romania, and the first
set
year
10,
I did
job done. Yep.
The first year I did it, oh my God, it was just awful. They basically give you a joker day, so you have to finish every day. It's about 100, it varies every day, but say 120 miles off road, and we're talking about literally up mountains, through rivers. It's incredible. There's nothing in the UK that can come anywhere close to it. It's just brilliant. Romania, incidentally, is a beautiful country.
Yeah,
I went out there, and they give you one joker day, which you're allowed to fail. You have to finish within an hour's time of within an hour of start at the end of the day. Otherwise, you're disqualified. So they give you joker day, so you can have one day where you finish out the hour. The first year, I didn't finish one single day, and I was disqualified on the fourth day because I had my joker day spare. In the first 2 days, they cancelled one because this, that, and the other. So anyway, it was an absolute disaster. And when I started riding, I thought, this is awful. And I was just sort of embarrassed myself, really. It was horrendous, and I was just awful, and I thought, this is not right. And so came home again, very depressed. And then I spent the whole year, literally the whole year, getting fit and riding my bike. I rode every single weekend. I did poor old Nick, dragged around the whole of bloody the UK, did some British Championship rounds again, and I rode and I rode and I rode, and I went back again. And to be honest, I felt really good. I don't think I looked good. Down to 14 stone, I could do 200 press-ups. It was brilliant. And it was great. And I went out there, and it was just fantastic. Second time, bought myself a new bike. We drove out there all the way to Romania, which is fantastic, great drive. And we had a fantastic time. And Nick, just an angel out there, she's absolutely brilliant. So she did all her services, which sounds easy, but you're in a 120-mile loop in the Romanian mountains. Your sat-nav doesn't really work. You've got waypoints to get to. They're giving the grid coordinates to work to.
Wow. And
she'd have to drive up there. And they start they do an iron class as well, which is for like beginners. But when I was doing, they had bronze, silver, and a gold, which is championship guys, people like Graham Jarvis, who can walk up mountains,
It's crazy, isn't it?
And I was in the bronze class, and we went round, and then we had 2 service intervals during the days, and Nick had to get these service intervals. And there's one classic one where she's going up this one-way road in the mountains. She had to squeeze past some trucks coming down that was for earlier riders, and she literally had to get out and move rocks at the side of the road with her wheels hanging off the edge of the road to drive round to get up there. And she got home that night, and she's like, back to the hotel that night, she's like, Christ, I was scared shitless. Really. So she did a really, really good job. And I couldn't have finished it without her. She kept it going the whole way around.
Which one did you break your collarbone in?
I was just a way to ask that.
The second year that I did, so the first year was absolutely pants, embarrassed myself, it was awful. Second year, I was a lot better. Started off okay, was doing okay, moving up through the rankings, things were looking good. Then the last day is always quite an easy day. I don't know if they've changed now since 9-10 years ago, but last day was a bit of an easier day. And then I just got through a really difficult bit, and I can't begin to explain, Bruce, how hard it is. I mean, it's not build the world's hardest enduro for nothing. It's impossible, You're riding across some of these, it's just like a rockery, but it's a whole mountain. You ride around the side of a mountain with rocks as big as cars, and you're trying to work your way around. And I just got through this really, really difficult bit, and it was at the beginning of the last day. Got through this rocky bit, and I was really pleased. Got past a few more riders, starting to move up. Things were looking good for the last day. And I was going across the top of this. They had like a gravel track, which is going across the top of this mountain. So really easy compared. It's just like doing a trial ride in Wales,
Yeah.
And I don't know, to this day, I don't know what happened. I just don't know what happened, but I hit something. I don't know. I just don't know. I was riding along quite normally, relaxing. I went straight over the bars at about 50 miles an hour, bang.
Broke your collarbone.
Yeah, and then I smashed my shoulder up completely. I couldn't even move my right arm, which is obviously a throttle arm. But then at that stage, I'm like, oh, my God, this is second year. I've got to finish. So what I did was I turned the tick over up on the bike. Then I could use my left hand. And at the end of this particular section, which was like an in-between difficult section, if you like, there was a guy, they have these first aid points. So I went in there and I got off my bike, and he's like, I was like, oh, my shoulder, I've really hurt my shoulder. And he looked, he said, yeah, get a helicopter, broken arm, like broken shoulder. I'm like, no, I've got to finish. He said, no, you can't finish. Can I get a helicopter down? No, I've got to finish. And he basically just looked at me like I was mad and gave me a morphine jab. So it's like, oh, this is good. I like this. So off I went. And then from then on,
so you finished it with a broken collarbone?
Yeah, and what I learned was though that when you get to the stages, when it was a difficult bit, which obviously I couldn't ride with one arm, but what in my bit embarrassing, but in what I realised was if I dropped my bike, so if I got to a stage which is a really difficult uphill with rocks or whatever, logs on it, if I dropped my bike in a really awkward place at the beginning of the section, I'd be standing there and I'll be holding everyone up because they couldn't get past me. And then I'd say, oh, I've really hurt my arm. And he'd go, oh, God, hold on. And they'd lift my bike over the tree or through the log or across the river to the other side. Everyone went past and I could walk across the other side, get back on my bike again, off I went. So I did it basically one arm and the tick overturned up and swapping around.
Down there for dancing.
Yeah, it was
using your noggin. Like it.
That was the hardest riding day of my life, but also most satisfying. It's brilliant.
So when you said you turn the tick over up, so is that I'm assuming that's so that you can use the clutch as like feathering the clutch to act as a throttle, basically.
Yeah, so I can't remember, for argument's sake, I was on about third rev, something like that. So the bike was revving its nuts off basically all the time. Yeah. But it meant you could change gear because obviously on a dirt like that, you can change gear without the clutch anyway.
Wow.
Both up and down, it's quite easy. So just slick it through the old gearbox and off you go. Easy on the easy bits, it's quite an easy thing to do. Yeah. But on the harder bits, it was a struggle. But like I said, I just used my brains, got in the way.
Fair play. Rebecca, wait, mate, that's something in itself. Wow, fair play to you. Rebecca Christie's got a second question to you both. You have to deliver a movement-sensitive chemical from UK to Nepal by motorcycle. The chemical needs to be kept at an even temperature and not be vibrated, otherwise it would explode. What bike are you going to do it on and why? Oh. UK to Nepal, movement-sensitive chemical. Something with excellent suspension.
I'd have to pick a adventure bike. Probably not a BMW, even though you love them. Last time I rode a BMW, it used to shake like hell. Do they still shake?
Really? No.
Yeah.
No, they've all got full semi-active suspension now, don't they? They just glide. It's lovely.
Yeah, the old engines used to go dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, they're still fairly agricultural. The boxer's still fairly agricultural, but
so
nothing.
But probably the what's the full cylinder one? The XR 1200, is it?
The XR, but that's really rigid suspension. That's a proper road focused bike. That the XR.
Right. So I think in terms of engines, you need a smooth engine for the journey with good suspension. So maybe on the Triumphs.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Because much though I love Ducatis, they do shake a bit.
I thought
the V4 one.
Goldwing.
Goldwing?
Yeah, Goldwing. Big armchair. Smooth as you like.
I assume that the roads in Nepal are going to be a bit rough.
Well, there's no roads. Yeah, there's no roads. But I mean, just plough your way through. You're not going to be going quick, are you? Well, I won't be going quick. I'll just be plodding my way along. So I just want a nice plush suspension. And I can listen to tunes on the Goldwing as well. Have you ridden a Goldwing? Genuinely, have you ridden a Goldwing?
No, we borrowed a BMW. What was that by? A bagger.
K1600.
1800 bagger off BMW a couple of weeks ago to do a thing for Gerben Heated Clothing. We did a film for that, and the local BMW garage lent one of those. Not particularly a bike that I like, but what an incredible bike!
Yeah,
unbelievable, smooth, comfortable.
Believe it or not, the Goldwing's better than that.
I've never ridden one.
Honestly,
to ride one.
I was kind of like that. It was only because people were telling me, just ride one. And I managed to get my hands on one with Honda. Amazing. Absolutely. I would if I had £32,000, I would gladly have one in my garage. I wouldn't be happy when it came to servicing, but honestly, to ride it, like it's boring as hell on a straight line, but you put that thing on the twisty B roads or a really nice flowing A road, it comes alive. Like the tighter the turns, the better that bike is.
Bow to your better judgment then.
Genuinely, it is mind-boggling how well that bike handles. And it's 430 kilograms. It's like nearly half a ton. It's ridiculous.
Gear as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And my wife, that's the only bike my wife sat on the back of and said, "Get one of these." That was like 32 grand.
You sit Nick on the back of my Ducati. She wasn't a happy lady.
No. My missus used to sit on the back of the Gixxer Thou. She was like, never again. Never
So
again.
in general, what we're saying is, though, so no Italian bikes, really. No American bikes.
No.
So really looking at a Japanese bike, which is going to be smooth engine, or German bike.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's going to have to be the one, isn't it?
Goldwing. Mark's going for Goldwing.
He's going Goldwing. Like it.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to have to get yourselves down to a Honda dealership now and take out the Goldwing. You'll have one in the garage next.
No, Bruce. I've just got Harley in the garage, mate. I don't want to bloody...
What Harley? Oh, you've got some classic Harleys, haven't you? You had one in the shop, didn't you?
No. We've got one we use for the Roadskin stuff, right. Which is more... it was a bike that was built for Vogue magazine, fun enough, for one of their photo shoots. It's a Softail. So it looks really cool, but it's probably the worst bike I've ever ridden in my life. Doesn't stop, doesn't go. Just like really, it's just
that's a Harley, though, isn't it?
It's a great, but this one isn't.
Right, last question. Lee Vigor. Hello, both. Hope you're well.
Lee.
I was just going to say,
he had a really bad bike accident.
Yes, he's been on the podcast. Yeah, he was the one that got me into the Helite air vests because he was telling me his story about them. Yeah, incredible. He says, a big thanks to Ian and his better half for keeping me warm for the last decade, and more so for the best customer care that I've ever received from any company, if only all companies would take a leaf out of their book. My question is, who has been your worst customer and why?
No, not Lee. Who's been my worst customer? Thanks, mate. You can't mention names. I think the worst with Roadskin that we do, we don't. All our customers are brilliant. We get virtually no complaints at all. And if we do get a complaint, it's either a genuine mistake that we've made, or we get manufacturing faults. Like every company, we know something's gone wrong. And we can sort it out. But we never ever. I can't think of ever an embarrassing bit or anything that's ever been wrong with Roadskin customers. They're great, really great. Gerbing customers, on the other hand, are a world of their own. Right. Gerbing's a very technical product. I've been doing Gerbing since longest of anything, 20 odd years. Right. It's a great product. It is a great product. It's got its faults in that I think that slightly old-fashioned in some of the designs of their gloves and stuff, but fundamentally, technically wise, is probably one of the most reliable, best products out there. They just don't particularly make their stuff look good. So that's sort of downside. They don't look really cool and trendy, but most working riders like our kit because it's reliable, it's great. But some of those customers are just a bloody nightmare. Honestly, it's just unbelievable. We had one guy that had a problem with stuff, and he said to me, I can't even remember what the actual issue was. And I think probably to hold my hands out, it's probably something we'd done wrong. This is a classic what happens in shows sometimes. And he was giving, they can be very, behind a keyboard, they can be very, very aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just annoying. You can't send it to them. And I've learned over the years, if you start getting involved in an argument, it just gets worse. Yeah. It just absolutely gets worse. So we get these guys who they're doing wrong. And the thing is, I always say to people, there's an issue of all heated clothing, not just Gerbing, in that obviously it's hot. So if you're riding a motorcycle, as you know, the environment around is quite an aggressive environment. There's cars and there's wind and there's rain and and you're not really thinking about your hands as such. So, of course, if you're riding down the motorway, for example, M4 into London, if you're going down the motorway doing 70, 80 mile an hour, you can have the heating on full heat and it's not a problem because you've got the wind chill on you, it's keeping it down. But then, of course, you get into M25, stop, start, or you get into London and, of course, you're slowing down, the wind chill's not there. But what happens is they don't forget to turn the gloves down. So they'll leave them on the hottest heat setting. They're not thinking about stuff. They're watching pretty girls walking past or whatever. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, my hands are too hot. And it's like the same thing we always say to people, it's like a shower. If you're in a shower and it's hot, you turn the bloody shower down. You don't stand there and burn yourself. It's as simple as that. And it's the same with all heated clothing, whether it's ours or anyone else's. You've got to regulate it, And for me, you start on the lowest heat setting and you work up. Most people start on the highest heat setting and work down. Anyway, so we get these people. And so I'd say I couldn't specifically say one customer in general has been really bad, but I would say that a lot of Gerbing customers can be a real pain in the arse. And it's because a lack of understanding, and of course the customer always knows best. And you really want to say to someone like, yeah, but that's not our fault, or that's not those, but they won't have it, you know. So in general, curbing customers, this time of year especially, I mean, classic things like we'll have, this is a classic example. We'll have a glove go wrong, yeah? It's got a lifetime warranty on it, not a problem, we'll sort it out for you. And we do, it's good as gold. But, you know, they've got to send it to us to be able to test the glove first. We're not going to give away £180 pair of gloves just because some guy's on an email on the phone going, my glove's not working, there's something wrong with it. We say, send it in to us. We send them all forms, send it in to us. We'll check it, we'll test it, we'll either repair it or, assuming it's covered by warranty, then we repair it and we'll send it back to you, no problem at all. And then they'll go, well, what am I gonna use? Well, I haven't got my gloves. And I go, well, how long have you been riding bikes? Well, 15 years. Well, you've got one pair of gloves. Yeah, this is the only gloves I've got. Really? And they just do that, and they're just trying it on.
Yeah.
No, they just don't want to send the stuff. It's like, well, no, you've got to send it back. You can't do that. So those sort of customers are just a nightmare. And they don't
very diplomatically put.
Thank you. I've been doing it a long time.
Lee says, Merry Christmas to you all. Thanks very much, Lee. And you.
Merry Christmas to you, Lee.
Right, that's the questions. We've gone through the questions. We've got through them. It's not bad.
Got through them.
2 hours, 15 minutes. That's all right.
How does that compare, Bruce? How does that compare with your other interviews as such? Is it too long or?
This is the Roadskin family.
It is, isn't it? How well done. I would say that I think sort of 2 to 2.5 hours is a good length for the podcast. It's a right good chat. I've had some that go 3.5, some that have almost pushed into 4, and you're like, I know people are going to be a bit bored now, but this is, I think that's a good length. You get loads of like delivery drivers, couriers, all that sort of stuff, tradies, loads of people just plug the headphones in and they just listen to the podcast.
Oh yeah. So this is the real family.
This is the whole Roadskin family.
What's the dog called?
Lottie.
Hi, Lottie.
Look, she blends in with Ian's hair. Look,
she does. Wow, that's frightening.
And you notice that we did as well. We managed, because of what Mark told me, all the things I couldn't talk about.
Well, this is still on, so don't let forth what you're not supposed to say. Just to warn you.
So those things I couldn't talk about in the courier days, so we left most of those out. And they're always the fun bits as well.
We'll do that for part 2 then, the X-rated version. Right, before we go, can I hand it over to you guys? Obviously, you want to plug the shop, the website, but if there's anything else that you want to plug, feel free. Over to you.
Mark, come back here.
Come here. Come here. That way.
So we just want to say thank you, Bruce, for a jolly enjoyable evening. Thank you very much indeed. It's been
Pleasure's
great chatting to you, great learning about stuff we do, and I'm sorry if I've talked too much and bored too many people. I am deeply passionate about Roadskin. We really do believe in our product. We spend a lot of time testing and practicing and getting our ass dragged down the concrete to see what's going on. We've got some brilliant products coming out over the next couple of years. And, we don't want to be the biggest company in the world. We're never going to do that. We just want to be friendly people that know our stuff, look after people, and, save a few skins on the way. And, that's our target. And we're really happy doing it. So, if ever it shows and stuff, pop along and say hello. We're always welcome to have donuts or cans of beer. Always helps. People always ask for discounts. We never discount unless we get something in return.
There you go, folks. Rock up with some booze and some donuts. Where do people go? What's the website if people want to check out the kit?
We're on roadskin.co.uk. We've also just started an Instagram account, Mark, called Roadskin on Tour.
roadskinon tour.co.uk. Go to that as well because we've got a website, and also you've got gerbing.co.uk, gerbing.co.uk for the easy gear. Ultimately, no matter what Ian says, yes, we have people that have problems with gloves, but we sell tens of thousands of pair of gloves every year. So the problems are minimal compared to the amount of sales that we actually do. So, but
well recovered. Well recovered.
As Ian says, the problems are it's the lack of education. People not necessarily always doing what is blatantly it says. We put notes on the front printed leaflets on the front of the gloves telling them how to work them.
And they still don't
just
read
open them and throw them away, you know. So yeah, it's minimal. But yeah, so gerbing.co.uk, roadskin.co.uk, roadskinontour.co.uk. As Ian says, we've got 18 places we're going to next year, 4 of which are abroad. Portugal.
I think the important thing to remember, the important thing to remember with Roadskin is we don't sell in shops. So you will not find Roadskin in any shops anywhere, full stop.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the reason being is basically shops in general, they've got their markup, which you completely understand they need to make the money. So we keep the prices down at Roadskin by not selling to shops. So that means that people can only get on our website, roadskin.co.uk, or when we go around shows, which is why we're doing 18 shows. We just bought ourselves a new truck for this year. We're all excited. So if they want to buy Roadskin stuff, they basically need to go and see where we're coming up, you know.
Okay, right, folks.
Yeah, we're getting t-shirts made up, which are very much like the rock t-shirts with our gig guide on the back of where we're going to be over the 18 shows. Nice. As I say, we're abroad. We got Portugal, France, Austria, the Netherlands. We're hoping to be at the Isle of Man TT, but that depends totally on costs, Bruce, because it's, as you probably well know, it's very expensive to get to the TT.
We need accommodation in the Isle of Man. So if anybody knows of any accommodation during the TT season, then if you can help, please do.
I mean, look, where's the brains of the operation here? There Absolutely. We go. Oh, right, Absolutely. I know loads of you listening and watching here. There's loads of connections in the Isle of Man. We're going there anyway in April. But if you've got a bed set, an Airbnb, even your own house, whatever it is, if you've got anywhere over there that you can offer them accommodation, drop them a line. Yeah. All the links will be down below, website, all the socials. Fantastic. Guys, thank you. Thank you so much for spending your evening with me. I've loved it. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'll pop down and see you in the shop in Tunbridge Wells, isn't it? Can the public turn up at the shop?
Yeah, everybody turns up.
Where
is the shop?
Monday to Friday, Bruce. Between 10 and 4. We open at 9 and close at 5, but 10 and 4 for the Joe public. Monday to Friday. If they need anything else, they can phone us up. If it's a motorcycle group or whatever, we can do something by arrangement. So if they want something on Saturday and there's a few of them want to come down, we can do it by arrangement. But yeah, Monday to Friday. Obviously, when we're doing shows, then sometimes it helps to let us know so we can make sure we've got the staff in.
Lovely job. Folks, if you're familiar with Tunbridge Wells, if you know where the BMW showroom is, go down that sort of main road there in front of the showroom. You'll get to a roundabout where the McDonald's is. Hang left at that roundabout, and Roadskin are in there. The address will be on the website. Make sure you check that out.
To that, Bruce. Yep. McDonald's there, no Mark by his first name.
Yep. There's going to be a few words said after this. Right. Brilliant. Awesome. Ian, thanks very much, mate. Been an absolute pleasure. And I'll no doubt I'll see you soon. Right, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this one. What can I say other than what I always do? Look after those that you love. Get on out there whenever you can and live your life. Woo-ha! Dude, awesome.